Good Thursday morning. We've made it to the fourth day of the week. It is this is a big radio thing, like DJ, radio, rock station. It is Friday Eve. You've made it. You've made it. Just one more day, everybody, to get through the week. It's Friday Eve. But it is a Thursday edition of Gary and Matt with Jimmy here. Good morning.
Morning. This definitely is a Thursday that feels like a Friday, if we're being honest. There's
Really?
not. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten that vibe from multiple people this week. I don't know what it is about the second week of May or we in the first week of May. I don't even know. See, just the days are mushing together, and I'm now officially on the countdown to football.
Older.
So,
whoa! Now you have me.
Worried?
No. I'm intrigued here.
Okay.
So people are giving off the vibe that today is Friday?
I know
you've already interacted with?
Well, it's just
it's my Friday, but he doesn't know.
Let's go meet those people.
It's just been like a slow week, you know? It's just one of those weeks where it just feels like time isn't moving as quickly as others. There's really
the young kid
I've always found there's really no reason for that. It's just every kind of like 4 or 5 weeks, there's just a week where it's just like kind of slogging a little bit, like each day feels like it's an hour longer, and then by the time you get to like Thursday, it's like we really should be on the next day. Like I really should be looking forward to getting on the patio at 3 p.m. and not having to wake up very early on Saturday. But here we are, and yet we trudge through. That's what winners do. Winners find a way to get through the week and get what they need to get done, no matter what the situation is. Unlike the Boston Celtics have been doing for the last couple of days.
That's why the rest of us are like, it's already
because
May?
The Knicks are winning.
Just whoa.
There it is.
Just the disrespect by the Boston Celtics toward the New York Knicks. I'm convinced after watching the NBA and especially the Boston Celtics, who have missed 75 threes in their first 2 games.
It's okay to take the damn ball to the basket.
You would think.
That's what in the NBA, do people not know how to shoot inside of the 3-point line?
It's part of the reason why, like, we fantasize some of these NBA players in the 2000s and 90s who clearly are worse than the 2010s players, because there is an actual art.
They are?
Well, some of them.
I saw a lot of really good players back then.
No, but
Rest
some
in peace,
of them,
Kobe.
Some of them we're like, we're like, oh my
Hmm?
God, I remember that guy playing, like that was fun, whatever.
O'Neal,
you know? Well, no, I'm not calling all 2000s players bumps. I'm saying that there were some players back in the day that we really enjoy thinking about now, because there was an actual art to how they score. Like Jason Tatum will more than likely go down as a better player than Carmelo Anthony. Okay. But he's already got an NBA championship. He's kind of on that path already.
He looked great last night, dribbling into the abyss.
Well, here's the thing, though. That's the thing about Carmelo. Carmelo, like, there was a beauty to him scoring. There was the long two. There was the mid-range. There was the baseline. You know, he's 5 feet away from the block. He'd work it. He'd shoot. We don't do that anymore. There's no beauty to that anymore.
But is the comparison to Carmelo wrong? Because I wouldn't consider Carmelo ever in the level of where Tatum is considered, like, the current day.
I'm not comparing Melo to Tatum. I'm just saying that Melo scored in a way where it was like, it was entertaining. Like there was an art to it. There was a beauty to it. A lot of these players here in the NBA now, it's just a lot of step back three, switch me on to a big, let me go and crash the board. Mm-hmm. Like there's no, like, I love DeMar DeRozan because how DeMar scores is an art. The mid-range is an art. We don't have that anymore. I miss it. I miss the mid-range shot.
People don't know how to shoot inside of the three. I'm with you. Like the mid-range in all levels, like you're either going to dunk it or you're going to shoot a three, or you're going to have a driving layup.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Knicks are shooting threes. The Knicks are making threes. I hate the whole premise of, you live by the three, you die by the three. That's a terrible philosophy.
It is a terrible philosophy.
But it's just disrespect to continue to do that, thinking that they're going to go in when things are going south. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you look at through the lens of losers, there are 2 defending world champions that are down 2-0.
Well,
and one I feel less confident in than the other. The Florida Panthers are now down 2-0. They've not done well for the U.S. up in Canada.
No.
And now the Boston Celtics going to MSG on Saturday are down 2-0.
That game on Saturday, the guys on Inside the NBA were complaining that game's getting tipped off at 3:30. Yeah. I actually kind of love
better than
3:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30 Central tip. I don't know. There's just something about like the mid-afternoon
Where were they
basketball with. I think they wanted that game at like prime time, 7:00.
So you can have more celebrities come dressed as Knicks fans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of like the 2:30 game. I kind of like Madison Square Garden in the middle of the day, where it's, Ooh. I've always thought it's been a little bit rowdy. I
don't think you would have the same, I think that's a barn that at night it's different. Like you couldn't play the Big East championship at 2:30 in the afternoon. But the fact that it's at night in prime time, I didn't catch that they were complaining. It is kind of odd that game is at 2:30 Central on Saturday.
Barkley was like, "How the hell is this game at 3:30? This should be under the lights at 7:00." I can't do a Barkley.
It isn't affecting the prices.
Yeah. Oh, really?
The courtside seats where the celebrities sit. Yeah. Is it about $50K? There is no time in my life I would ever think about paying $50K to go to a sporting event.
Well, it's game 3 of the second round, too.
Exactly.
I mean, what the hell is an NBA Finals ticket going to be? Good Lord.
But the first 2 games have shown that when you have somebody that is Mr. Clutch, and who wants and will take a shot, and his name is Jalen Brunson, what a great luxury to have. That you have a clutch guy, but a guy that wants to be that's not going to pass the ball and is going to hit shots. Maybe they go in, maybe they don't. But you don't have to look around the floor and go, who's going to take a shot? Number 11 says, I'm going to take a shot.
Well,
that was get on my back, boys. We're going to win.
I don't know. I have neither a reaction to either team winning this.
Sure.
But I just the continued disrespect that Boston has, that they think they can just chuck up threes, and that's been their philosophy. And they've, they won a world championship last year. If I'm a Knick, I'm like, that's 2 straight 20-point comebacks because you guys can't make a shot, and you know what? You have no intention of driving to the basket, and when you do, you have no idea what to do.
Exactly.
And your superstar, or I guess he's just a star right now, is getting exposed.
Well,
Jason Tatum's had 2 really, really bad fourth quarters.
Season will be over Monday night.
Hey, this time of the year, you do what you do to your legacy.
Yes.
Look at Jalen Brunson, what his legacy has built the last couple of years. Now, Tatum, who is still one of the best players in the NBA, but ain't helping the cause here in the last 2 fourth quarters of the first 2 games of this semifinal series.
They went 8 minutes without scoring a point in the fourth quarter.
Mikal Bridges outscored the Boston Celtics starters in the fourth quarter last night.
It's incredible, too. It's like they asked Mazzulla, Coach Joe Mazzulla, hey, why didn't you call a timeout there in the last possession? And he goes, well, we were fine, and we just ran the same exact play we ran the possession before, and they were able to guard it. Like,
disrespectful.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to act as if like basketball teams don't repeat sets like in back-to-back possessions. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you don't think a Tom Thibodeau coach team, after you just got to the paint all willy-nilly with no resistance, isn't going to be ready and adjust properly to that same exact play a possession later, especially when they set it up in the same exact way with Horford setting that screen and then kind of drifting toward the middle to get Tatum going downhill. It's just not good. It's just incredible to me that immediately I would think, well, this isn't a team that you can't win championships this way. Like this isn't a championship team, yet this is literally the defending champions who are doing this in the biggest moments against what you would say a really good team, which is exactly why the Knicks should feel disrespected.
New York, Indiana.
No,
just like the old days.
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
You're giving some.
No.
It's over.
But,
Boston will win a game.
Boston will win.
They're too good to not win.
Boston will win. I'll say this right now. Boston will win game 3.
Yeah, if they're down 3-0, then they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in big-time trouble. But at some point, those shots will fall. But just the amount and the volume, and when they're not falling, they don't have a plan B. They haven't looked like a world championship team to me. But they also are getting a little bit exposed and probably are fearful of this, that you have Tatum and Brown, the Batman and Robin, might be 2 of the softer duos in the NBA compared to some other Batmans and Robins. The bottom line, Drew Holiday and Al Horford, who are integral to that team and were so important last year, they're a little bit older. And Porzingis is made of glass.
Yeah.
So everything has to go right for Boston, and it has not gone right in the first 2 games. But there's no excuse. You have blown 2 20-point leads, and they almost look exactly the same way that everything is unfolded. That's not a championship team to me. Joe Mazzulla once was down to the Heat a couple of games and he roared back and won. So I'm not ready to bury the Celtics, but boy, I wouldn't want to walk in on Saturday and those people are already. If I'm a Celtics fan and you're listening to the show, I'd stay in bed today. I wouldn't go out and fight a Knicks fan.
Joey's out all
I wouldn't
this
get
week,
on
so
social media. I would stay in bed because you got no comeback to what your team has done for 2 straight games, and you're down 2-0, losing twice at home.
It's a great point.
I mean, Larry Bird ain't walking through that door anymore.
Al Horford is taking.
He would have
5
scored in
threes,
the fourth quarter.
Al Horford's taking 5 threes in a game, not because Al Horford is some 3-point spot up knockdown shooter. It's just Al Horford can't be the dog that he used to be in the paint. Like he just cannot dominate. And it was like around 20. He joined that team in 2018, 2019, and it was almost as if they began their offense with Al Horford, that he was like a focal point. He was a starting point in the post. And there were moments where they could just be like, all right, Al, go ahead. Go ahead, get in bucket. It's not there anymore. And, another great point for him too, with Drew Holiday, the style of play that Drew Holiday has made himself so effective as a point guard for the last couple of years is one that is kind of hard to sustain and does wear on you in the terms of he's got to play top-notch defense every time down that court. And then they're relying on him to initiate offense on the other part of the court. When you do that, and this is dating all the way back to when he was doing it in Milwaukee, eventually the wheels are going to fall off. I'm not saying they are, but it's a great point. I just 43s after you shot 60 the game before.
I think the bigger story is you missed 75 threes.
I mean,
you missed 75 threes in 2 games. Not that 100, you take 100, but you missed 75 threes. And your star is on the vomit comment.
Nice.
Ridiculous.
All right, coming up on the show, Sarah Baker Hansen will stop by. Coming up a little bit later, Stephen M. Sipple will be by. We don't know what we're going to get out of Sip.
Is he a box of chocolates?
Never really.
I certainly wouldn't call him the
I've
Nebraska
never-
baseball of guests.
I've never looked at Sip and said,
We got to be careful
I've not
here,
done
Gary,
that.
on your friend.
I've not thought,
You did
is
not-
Sipple,
you did not need to lick your lips
Is
for that.
Sipple-
That is.
is Sipple, is he peanuts? Is he caramel? Is he nougat? Never thought that way.
You have to ask
But
him.
now you got me thinking. I don't know if I can do the interview.
What type of poll question? What type of chocolate is Steve Sipple?
Brian Edwards coming up at 9:40 as well. That is the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. You're always welcome to join the show on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline, 402-951-1620. It's okay, Celtics fans. Stay in bed, pull the covers up, sleep a little bit. Don't go outside. Don't be braggadocious. How is our morning Celtic fan over on traffic doing? Have you checked in with Joey today?
He's out all week, so he knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah,
It's
he saw the storm coming.
Interesting that we have a couple of Celtic fans in this building.
Who's the second one? Who am I forgetting?
Odson's a big Celtics fan.
But Odson claims that he isn't that big of a Celtics fan, and then they started testing his Celtics knowledge, and he actually did a really, really good job.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. It's Josh
on it.
Dotson. He's always going to give you
So
25
he is.
and 12.
He's a
Did he hit all
closeted.
the starting 5? Cornbread, Chief,
Wow.
Bird, DJ, Danny Ainge.
I didn't think we were going to get a
McHale.
Cedric Maxwell reference on the show today. That's incredible.
Hey, growing up,
81 MVP of the finals on tape delay.
Oh, I know. I'm aware. I'm very much aware.
growing up, you'd come home from church, and there at noon from the Garden would be the NBA on CBS. I would have Pat O'Brien, Dick Stockton, Tommy Heinsohn.
Trying not to be biased.
Every noon game the Celtics were playing. It was either the Celtics against the Sixers or the Celtics against the Lakers. And then when the Bulls got better, it was the Celtics against the Bulls. It was death taxes and the nooner. Celtics from Boston Garden.
Yeah, I just got a decade of LeBron hammering teams in the East. And just, some competition in the
I
West.
just see it now, walking in the house in Urbandale. Hell yes.
It does not hit.
There needs to be a
much
little
as-
static in there.
It doesn't hit as much as Round Ball Rock.
It's still a good one. That's a classic.
But one thing they were starting there that I'm glad that NBC is going to bring back is the opens. Instead of just going to the booth, they have narrated opens.
Yes.
Going to show the starting
Which-
lineups again.
Which back in the day, all of the sports from the NBA to the NFL to Major League Baseball in between, they had narrated opens before you ever saw the talent on screen.
They got you going.
Well, because I think that makes it a
it
makes
sets the stage.
it makes it a big event.
Mhm.
Like it gives something to it. You know, whether the announcers make it a big event or the way it's presented, and that's why the NBA, going back to NBC, not only the nostalgia of the song that we all attach to the NBA. I mean, there are very few, if any, themes out there that you immediately hear and you go,
sure.
You hear Round Ball Rock and you're like, NBA.
Let's go.
But to have a lead-in where you have a build-up and they have like a minute open, like Pat Summerall was great at this. And that just reminded me of that's what CBS would do. They'd have this lead-up, maybe 30 to 45 seconds, and then boom, Dick Stockton was in the the middle of the court and the parquet was behind him, and him and Tommy Heinsohn were sitting there, and you were ready for some NBA doubleheader basketball on a Sunday.
Boston, Milwaukee, followed by the Lakers in Houston this afternoon.
They did that with Doc Emmerich
CBS
a lot in the NHL as well. And they'd always show the wide city shot of wherever they were. He would bring it in, live from Calgary. And, it was absolutely beautiful. Now, every elimination game in every single playoff series, there should be like a WWE style promo heading into the game, right? Where there's like dramatic music, there's narration, there's like, B-roll from the past games. And then once we get to the finals, I need a 2.5 minute, if these walls could talk type promo, that heads into every single game. It's the theater. It's the theater. And when you add an appropriate amount of theater to sports, it just makes it better.
I agree. All right, I was thinking about you in bed this morning.
Thanks,
and
man.
I'll tell you why when we come back.
Many do in Lincoln.
Were you looking at the lines?
No, I thought we shut down the McMaster Sportsbook.
We're taking a break.
We're on hiatus.
We are.
The horsies got you.
Did we donate to the state of Nebraska?
Yeah, we made some irresponsible decisions.
So you're not going to touch Minnesota being a 10.5-point favorite tonight
No,
at the Target Center against
I
the
literally.
Warriors?
This is not a joke. I'm not allowed to place any bets until the 15th. We have blown through the budget. So
Mike got you. Good for him.
Yeah. I'm being responsible.
pamphlet.
I'm being responsible, and I have things that I have planned, and I want to do some certain things down the road, and it's just I have a budget for my gambling, and the ponies got to me. When you wheel the 18 and you bet on every horse except for the 8, that's gonna do.
What's the significance of the 15th?
Stick to the humans.
That's when I get paid. So
okay.
So my budget resets, so I can properly
shout
calculate.
out NRG Media.
No, this is seriously that I can properly calculate what I have available, to make sports bet.
So 1 week from now,
yeah, but I'm not like counting down the days. I'm still
days.
licking wounds.
You seem to be a little itchy over there.
I am.
Just one
Very
bet. Just one bet, $5.
God, I like that third race at Pimlico today. All right, we're off and running on a Thursday. Glad to have you.
Man, the 10 looks good. You ran a 45-4 long.
Scary man. 16-20 the zone. Good Thursday morning.
It is.
Hey, Jimmy, that happens a lot in Nebraska.
It does.
Yes. Yes. All right. Welcome in, Gary and Matt. Jimmy here as well. Every day is a game day on 1620 The Zone. Hello to all of our YouTubers, as you mentioned. Mr. Mike hanging out with us on the YouTube.
Love Mike. Mike's great.
I don't know. Is Mike a Knicks fan? He's got Knicks in 6.
I think that's realistic. You just have to think Boston's going to get a couple of games. They're too good to just get swept.
Let me give you a little stat. You ready? Stat boy?
2-pointers? Better than missed
Who
3-pointers.
are you calling Stat Boy? You calling him Stat Boy or me Stat Boy?
Weird that teams inside of the three-point line have no idea what to do. 93% of the teams in the NBA playoffs that go up 2-0 win.
Yep.
So good luck to Indiana. Good luck to the New York Knickerbockers. And if Golden State wins tonight.
Not good luck to New York. Don't want New York.
Go New York. Go New York. Go.
No. I don't want to be bing bonged or, be I don't want to watch.
That appears to be nothing about the NBA. That's
No,
your own
that's-
personal thing.
Please
Keep that to yourself.
We all have our
Knicks,
things.
That's their thing. They go bing bong.
That's a New York. You said, I don't want to be bing bong.
Exactly. I don't want people to come up to me and be
I
like,
don't know
bing
what you do in your
bong.
personal life outside of here.
You know exactly.
Who's going to come up to you
lay
and
it
bing
all out
bong?
on the
I don't know
table.
that you're going to find people in Omaha when it references the Knicks. I think if you get bing bonged in Omaha, it has nothing to do with the Knicks. It has something to do with something else.
With
And
the
next
people
thing
I
you know,
hang around.
You wake up in a bathtub full of ice and your kidney's missing. Does that still happen? Remember when that was a big thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There were. I don't know if that was an urban myth,
The
but I
spring
believed
break
it.
thing.
Yeah, like you would, and especially in the South,
Careful going to South Padre.
Panama Beach. Like you'd go there and people would wake up and they'd be in a bathtub full of ice and they'd be missing their kidney. I don't know if that
Is that an actual? Are you yanking my
this
chain?
used to
This is
happen.
an
Yeah.
actual thing that occurred.
Google it. It might even have its own Wikipedia page.
Yeah, this used to happen. I mean,
Why
not
would
to
people
us,
take
obviously.
kidneys though? I feel like
You
that
can
would
sell
be-
them.
Yeah.
On the open market.
What was that one?
Before eBay, Facebook
Life
Marketplace.
is rough out on the streets, man. You got to find any way to get a bag.
What was that?
Whether have great athletic talent or be able to slice open somebody who has passed out and grab their kidney. Not that I'm
advocating for it?
Yes, but that was happening.
No, you're all about the hustle. But what was that one movie
That's one
where
hustle.
it was with Mr. Bean and there was Heart on Ice, and they were Rat Race. Rat Race. You guys ever?
I've not seen that.
You've not seen Rat Race? It's
I
like
saw
they're
Mr.
all-
Bean.
They're all
on
racing to
HBO.
go and find $1 million, and a big part of like the movie is that Mr. Bean's got like Heart on Ice, and he's got to like transport the heart. So is it the same thing? Like you would just make someone pass out, then you
That
cut
kind
out
of
a
reminds me
kidney,
of
put it on
Cannonball
ice?
Run. I mean, maybe
I don't
without the
know.
morbid.
How much is a kidney going for nowadays?
With inflation?
Yeah, God. In this America?
It's $50,000 to sit on the front row at Madison Square Garden. I'm sure kidneys like 60, 70.
Do you know how incredible it would be if selling a kidney couldn't get yourself a courtside seat to Game 3 of the 2025 Western Conference semifinals or Eastern Conference semifinals?
You know, what would you rather give up, your firstborn or your kidney?
What are we
Game
talking?
3 of the Knicks and the Celtics.
Oh, neither. I'm okay. I'll
Neither. I've
gladly
been to over
sit.
1,000 NBA playoff games and whatnot, so I'm okay.
I mean, does it include parking and a hotel and like food? Because that's a
not.
whole other like
that's
$4,000 right
That's
there.
why the 1620 The Zone contest to Kenny Chesney
Hey,
is better than
yeah,
Game 3. Ben Otti, BA Coach's show with us.
Coach Ben Ondi.
Celtics, hilarious right now.
What's hilarious about them that the fact that they're just losers. I mean, because
Well, I don't think you can call the world champions losers. I think they are
Mean.
very conceited right now. That they think they can just stand outside the 3-point line and stick to their philosophy and just shoot, and miss.
it's incredible to think about how much different we would be talking about Jason Tatum, and maybe even how much different Jason Tatum's career would be right now if he had made those last 2 shots in the last 2
Yeah.
games of this series.
What if
right?
Scott
The
Norwood
step,
had
the
made the
step back
kick?
3 in game 1, and then getting blocked by Mikal Bridges in game 2. If he ends up making those shots, we're sitting up here talking about, man, the Celtics, like, we're a little bit worried about the fact that they blow leads, but man, Tatum's incredible. Tatum could be the face of the league. Just 2 shots. Just 2 shots away.
Literally in our living room, I hear right as that block happens, have you heard from Matt tonight? And I go, actually, no. Oh, there he is.
On cue.
Yeah.
So Tatum's
mad.
2 fourth quarters in this series. 6 points, 1 for 12 from the floor. Hello to Debo. Is Halliburton better than Tatum?
Okay, so I got a Halliburton stat yesterday that I found. So he's taken 11 shots. Tyrese Halliburton has taken 11 do or die shots in his career, where if he misses them, his team loses. If he makes them, his team wins. Okay. Can you guess how many of the 11 shots Tyrese Halliburton has made?
6.
10.
I was close.
He is 10 of 11.
So
In do or die.
Brunson not won Mr. Clutch?
I mean, this is like over the stretch of, Halliburton's what now at this point, 6-year career. I mean, he was in the infamous Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, Patrick Williams draft, was he not?
Yeah, he
was
could have been a Sacramento King, so we don't even talk about that.
He was a Sacramento, wasn't he, or was he traded before? Yeah, and then Demonis was
great. I loved him at Iowa State.
Well, it was funny.
He goes to Sacramento. I'm like, oh, this could be pretty good.
I remember because I was more so in the NBA scout prospect.
Sabonis has been good.
Sabonis has been really good. It was funny. Tyrese Halliburton, I think, had like the top 3-point shooting percentage entering the draft. Yet not a lot of people thought he would be a good shooter because he had that weird form, which is part of the reason why he fell all the way to, it was either 11 or 16, I forget. Probably 11 if the Kings took him because they were probably in the lottery. But
low-key shade.
Yeah,
no,
there's no shade at all. Hey. I mean, my team's been in the lottery pretty consistently for the last 9 years.
In Sacktown.
Yeah, a rough 17-year run, 19-year run.
I mean, there was a couple of years ago where I thought that was the breakthrough, and then
they fired Mike Brown.
Well, and then there was a Game 7 that Curry went crazy in, but we don't even talk about that.
Do you remember what was your favorite part of the Alvin Gentry years?
That I don't remember any of them.
How about the Luke Walton years?
Nope. Now I do. I was enjoying the Mike Brown.
Yeah,
I was enjoying. Jerry Reynolds had a nice run.
Yeah,
he's still
Dick
does. He's still the analyst on TV for the Kings.
Not to be confused with Ice Reynolds, who played for the Magic.
Here, whether it be Halliburton doing what he did the night before or Jalen Brunson, you don't overthink things. Like I think in sports, maybe in life in general, we overthink things.
Yeah.
If somebody has a hot hand, feed them. Okay, don't go away from them. Like Brunson gets a hot hand and he starts to cook, and the Knicks are like, okay, now we need somebody else.
Sure.
Where is Josh Hart? And people just kind of blend in and they do their work. But if you're making shots and you're the guy that wants the ball, give them the ball. Give them the ball. Let them go to work. And they're either going to make it or miss it. And Jalen Brunson has been great. Hello to Kevin, who chimes in on the stream.
Lakeland, Florida.
Lakeland, Florida,
oh, yes.
Home of Tiger Town. Home of the Lakeland, what is the high school? They used to, when I was living in Florida, Lakeland high school football.
The Fighting
was
Gators.
Dominant. I want to say they're the Dreadnoughts.
You were close,
the Dreadnoughts.
I believe that is the nickname of Lakeland, but that's
like garlic knots.
Chris Rainey went to school there. They were rolling back in the day. But that's the home of the Detroit Tigers spring training home.
Oh.
Yes, Tiger Town. I mean, it's just kind of a little outpost, it's like a little stop off between Orlando and Tampa St. Pete on I-4. So hello.
Do you know what a dreadnought is? I just had to look this up.
I do not. I just know that Lakeland in the mid-2000s, like 07, 08, were dominant. Like they were one of the best high school football programs in the country.
It's a battleship. Dreadnought is a battleship.
Right.
I had no clue what a dreadnought was.
You just taught today.
I know. This is an educational program. We haven't been using our big words like we have over the last couple of weeks. I mean, maybe we should change that a little bit.
Steve Sipp a little bit later will use a big word or two.
Yeah. He's we can almost guarantee that for that to happen.
All right. I told you going into the break that I was thinking about you in bed.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, I don't know if that's a compliment or something to be worried about, but I do appreciate your thoughts.
So woke up this morning and immediately hop on the old X and start doom scrolling.
See what you missed?
Not as much doom.
No,
less doom. We got a trade deal that's going to be announced or has already been announced, but that was part of my timeline, even on the following page. So I'm scrolling down, and in my head, I'm also like, okay, this is Thursday. And you told me that you like hype videos, right?
I love hype videos so much.
So 16 Thursdays from now will be a hype video released ahead of the Nebraska-Cincinnati game that'll be played later that night at Arrowhead. Now, that's a long time. 16 weeks is a long time. A lot of things can happen in 16 weeks.
It'll go by fast.
You can't have a kid in 16 weeks.
No, can't.
But 16 weeks is a long time. Yeah, a
you
lot
can
of
go
things
8
can
and
go
8
wrong.
in 16 weeks.
You can
Trust
go,
me, I know that.
You can go 8 and 8, maybe 8 and 7 because you maybe have a bye in there.
Yeah.
But if you are jonesing for college football, like we've had a couple of weeks away from spring time, and you're thinking, oh man, how am I going to be able to make it? And there's lists out there of coaches lists and other things.
And bowl projections, which is wild, by the way.
Here might be the best thing to get you ready for the upcoming college football season.
Lay it on me, partner.
Last night, Lane Stadium, Blacksburg, Virginia. Metallica played their concert in a place which Virginia Tech, the Hokie Nation, they use Enter Sandman as one of the best entrances in all of college football. And Metallica, who is touring, they were just in Nashville. They were just in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They were at Lane Stadium last night, and they played Enter Sandman. And I am ready to go to Arrowhead today to watch Nebraska and Cincinnati. So if you are thinking, man, 16 weeks is a long time. 15 weeks from Farmageddon in Dublin is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch all of the videos from Blacksburg last night. And then my follow-up question is, how come they can't get it licensed to be in the college football video game? But it's incredible.
Remember the Napster thing?
The atmosphere is incredible. That Metallica is in a stadium that is associated with Enter Sandman, and they are playing it live.
Why couldn't we get a video from inside the stadium though? Like it's we're getting like an outside the stadium.
Lars will
shot.
come after you.
Oh, here's an inside.
Oh,
the
there's
stadium
many.
Shot. Oh my!
I haven't
God.
seen any from outside the stadium.
Holy Lord, that's incredible. They should have had like the team like run out, like not in like full pads or anything like that, but they should have put the team in like jerseys and like mimic them like coming out and then put them on stage. That would have been absolutely electric. Have a 105 rule though when they walk up there, be like, no, last 15, I can't do it. Only 105 of you up here.
So Metallica college football stadium tour. When do they come to Lincoln? Let's make it happen.
Well, you think about Metallica is one of the greatest rock bands of all time.
Should have played my wedding.
They just play.
You think the New York Knicks tickets are expensive?
You should have seen where we got married.
How do you know how? Have you seen some of these prices it is to get like private singers that like Billy Joel is like, he was asked before, like, would you ever play at a wedding? And he's like, yeah, $1 million. $1 million?
I mean, I don't have that.
For like a popular private singer at a wedding?
Spicoli hired Van Halen to play after he saved someone's life.
What?
Yeah. Saved a guy's life, got a reward, hired Van Halen to play his party. Birthday party.
Is that, I don't know if Gary's laughing because that's a joke or Gary's laughing
he's laughing because he's
happened.
joyous. He's in a good mood.
I love Van Halen.
Yeah.
I love James Hetfield.
Spicoli's our friend.
For a moment here.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of things you guys threw out there.
That's typically how the show goes.
Jimmy, did you have a DJ or a singer or
no, we had
canned
a DJ.
music?
We had a DJ who just fumbled. I mean, a waste of money. That's why it's a running joke in our family. I mean,
what year, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it's okay. It's not like I'm 90.
Yeah.
1948. Yes, I had just gotten back from the war. And,
I don't know, man. I'm being
2012.
Hey,
2012.
Today, actually, World War II is actually a big day. We celebrate the victory today. Thank you. Continue on.
Yep. Okay. 2012. That's unacceptable to have a bad DJ because I feel like at that point there are enough bangers like in 2012, like enough like we've done the whole song and dance of being at weddings where we could have like a great mix in 2012. Nowadays, I feel like it's impossible to have a bad wedding DJ. There's so much music. There's so many different vibes. Like you have people who are literally like dedicated to the DJ business where I feel like it is really, really hard to like, there's so many out there. There's so many DJs
I would just
out
hire
there.
someone from here because they're friends.
And you would ask for a discount?
We have a couple people in the building that are wedding DJs. Our old producer, Shane, he would do that on the side. He actually,
I wonder if that's a good business. Like if you could make a good amount of money just being a full-time wedding DJ. If you got like a banger set and you're really, really good at it and you go to one friend's wedding, you don't think they'll tell their other friends, hey, this guy was incredible. And then you get that matriculation.
down the field.
I think Shane DJ'd Josh's wedding, Josh's first wedding.
Okay. See? Smart.
I feel like
I'd hire Alyssa. I don't know if she does that, but we love Alyssa, so
that might be a perk to
Should we do
working in
some
radio.
spinning?
That and the free baseball tickets. Being able to get, no DJs, I can DJ your wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
But back to Metallica. This is how crazy them making an appearance last night was. Blacksburg, Virginia is located. It is a small town.
Yeah.
It is in the Blue Ridge Mountains. One of the
direct flights
greatest bands of all time just came and played at their football stadium. Not hey, we're playing in D.C., drive up and see us.
Sure.
They played at Lane Stadium because now, it would have been great if Mariano Rivera was there last night. I don't know if they'll go to Yankee Stadium and play because of Mariano. But the fact that they played at Lane Stadium is so cool. And if that doesn't get you hyped for the season, that now you go from watching all of the video of them playing Inner Sandman to entrances in college football. We're 16 weeks away. Just pace yourself because you will do it. Because then, as I was scrolling through, you think, okay, I want to go and look at Virginia Tech when they have to run from such a far way away. It's so weird that like their locker room.
It is neat. No,
Their locker room is a long way away, and they run and before they ever get to the stadium. Like Clemson, they take the bus around to their locker room all the way to the hill. They get off the buses, they run down the hill. Virginia Tech's locker room is past the practice fields, so they're coming down a road that they're running, and then they enter the tunnel in the stadium, and then they come out. It's a long entrance.
Like Jay Uso, you're like out of breath by the time like the game begins when it's action's about to happen. How many? So Enter Sandman, Jump Around. What else are like the other? Like I would, Sirius is there like in terms of iconic songs. Like, how many more iconic songs are there really in college football? Past those two, and then
In Heaven There Is No Beer.
Dixieland Delight is another one, but
Yeah.
that's not like a walkout song. Like
No,
that's
no,
like,
that's
show's a fan of
I
that.
think that
That's
is
like
between the
in-game.
third and fourth quarter in T-Town.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess Jump Around too. I mean, that's not a walkout song. I mean, that's
That's
there's
a jump
not-
around song.
There's not that many when you think about it, which I feel like there should be more like iconic college football songs, considering how many great teams there are in college football and how many of them have been like.
Well, I think the iconic songs might be the fight songs.
Sure, that's a good point. But like the walk, like I don't know, shipping out to Boston. Like I feel like not a lot of people would know. Like when people, I don't think people think of like, oh, right at the kickoff of Notre Dame football, they're playing shipping off to Boston. That
I
this
didn't know
is like
that.
the oh,
I didn't either.
yeah,
I do like that song.
it's
On
awesome.
the loudspeaker?
They
Hell yeah.
they customize it though because there's like they have this lady sing, "There's a magic in the sound of their name. Here come the Irish of Notre Dame,"
Mhm.
and it's awesome. And then right away, shipping off to Boston hits, and it's like doo, and then Notre Dame runs out onto the field, and like it's almost as if like it's the switch of like, hey, we're going from the pregame to we're playing football now. It's awesome.
They don't play their fight song when they come on the field.
Well, when they run out onto the field, yes, they play their fight song.
Oh, you're talking
But
right
that-
before kickoff.
But right before
Okay.
kickoff, they hit shipping off to Boston. And it's
Okay,
like
I could
it's-
get behind
It's
that.
incredible.
Yeah.
But not a lot
Sure, when
like
they play BC, that's ruffles some feathers.
I was at
yeah.
the BC game and they there weren't enough BC fans there to get mad about
I
it.
watched one where BC won. Ruined
right.
Notre Dame season.
Yeah,
little intel here. I did not know this, and this has been shared with a friend of mine about how Virginia Tech got Enter Sandman.
Sure.
Virginia Tech reached out to the late Jeff Schmall, who is the godfather of Husker Vision, and they picked their brain about a couple of ideas they had. And so the folks at Husker Vision, Jeff Schmall and I could say his last name, Brandon Bussman, were together and they gave him some choices. And that's how Virginia Tech
Wow.
picked Enter Sandman. It came from Husker Vision.
Everything leads back to Nebraska, baby.
Man, Jeff Schmall was such a special person. From used to be the sports director at 10-11 and then was the godfather of Husker Vision. If you want to see a coaching tree,
Sure.
the equivalent of the world of that, whatever videography, whatever you want to call it. The Husker Vision tree is amazing, and Jeff Schmall at the top. I mean, that's pretty cool. I'd never heard that story before. But if you get a chance this morning, you want to get fired up. All right, maybe you're going in to ask for a raise. Watch Enter Sandman last night at Lane Stadium.
You'll never, a video will never get you begging more to watch Maryland versus Rutgers on a Saturday afternoon.
Hey, don't be kidding, because you're gonna be later this month and you'll be like sitting on the couch and like, God, it'd be nice to have a game on BGN. I'd like to see an 11 a.m. dreary, nobody's in the stands football game right now. Or you're gonna go back in your catalog of games that you've recorded. Like, you know what? This is a good time to watch this game.
Well, I was sitting on my couch on Sunday night, and I was like, man, what I would do for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be playing the Tennessee Titans right now.
I might take Rutgers Northwestern over that one.
Yeah.
I'll take a college game before I subject myself to
Hey, you guys want to know something crazy? You bring up the Jaguars.
Sure.
Trevor Lawrence is only 25 years old.
Yeah.
How about that?
Man, he's not panned out. It's a big year for him. It's a really, really, really big year for him. Now he got drafted when he was 21. So it's already been 4 years of Trevor Lawrence. That's kind of crazy. I feel like some of these younger guys that we've seen grow, like that era, like that Trevor Lawrence era of college football, you could kind of label it as like the last real era of college football. If we're being honest, because there wasn't, NIL money, if it wasn't there, it wasn't as prevalent during that time. And they were playing some damn good teams, and it was super competitive football. And like already 4 years has gone by where now we have like an opinion on him. Like we're past like him being this Hall of Fame type college football quarterback. It's crazy how quickly those things go by.
Steve, who I think might be a graduate of Husker Vision, asked this question: is Husker Vision the number one thing that Bill Byrne did at Nebraska?
I mean,
it was Bill Byrne. Bill Byrne hired Jeff Schmall. It was Bill Byrne's idea when they got the video board. Well, to put in video boards, but we needed a video department. And what Husker Vision has become, 30 plus years.
And Husker Vision's the godfather to a lot of things. I know where I was, Rock Chalk Video, direct descendant from Husker Vision. A lot of great people went down there to start that, and they do a great job just like they do here.
Husker Vision by far is the best thing they have at the college journalism in terms of giving young people opportunities to begin their career in broadcasting. Legendary. It is absolutely incredible. So yeah, I would say so.
So how about this? So the first three people that were hired at Husker Vision, so Jeff Schmall was hired by Bill Byrne. Kirk Hartman has been there forever as well, and he's an important part of it. But in '94, that was the first year of Husker Vision. That was the first year, of course, of the Tunnel Walk. Is your first three hires were Jeff Schmall, Shot Clean, who, if you know, is still around. He is officially retired, but Shot is an OG. And then Rick Schwieger, who went on to be Rick Allen and now was the voice of NASCAR on NBC until recently. By the way, did a great sit down with Dale Jr. on his podcast about how that all went down. Yeah, those were the first three employees, full-time employees of Husker Vision back in 1994.
I mean,
man, that's like a draft, and you knock out all three picks. And
I mean, Nebraska in general was pumping out incredible like production people like from that college year in and year out. That's not like they not only go on to help like the athletic department, but they end up getting hired from other athletic departments to run their stuff. Like that's how effective that organization has been.
All right, a little bit later, Sarah Baker Hansen will stop by. We'll talk some food, y'all. Plus, there's a lot of value you can get on day number 2.
A lot
of value on day number 2. That's where you can win. Will there be value on day number 2 in Rome?
I don't know. I see a lot of system popes. Not enough guys who are dynamic playmakers.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Nice. That was a good breakdown. I'll have you break down Pizza Laza, who is actually one of the favorites.
He's just got to get the ball out of his hand quicker.
That's the big board we need.
He's got to, those homilies, we got to sharpen them up a little bit more efficient. We got to cut down the movements in the pocket.
All right, we're back with hour 2 of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Oh. Imagine being in the tunnel in Lane Stadium.
Oh.
Justin Fuentes, who so badly wanted to be the football coach at Nebraska, is getting ready to lead you out on the field. By the way, Virginia Tech football might be turning the corner under a different head coach. And you hear this in the stadium and everybody's jumping up and down. You're in a stadium where outside Lee Corso's rental car got hit by lightning once.
I remember that.
Virginia Tech had Michael Vick and they used to play big Thursday night games.
Wait, there used to be big Thursday night games for college?
Hey.
All I remember is that all everybody told me last season was Virginia Tech's returning 22 starters. They got everybody's back. Kyan Drones is going to be great. Their backfield is awesome, man. Their whole secondary's back. They're going to be incredible. Go ahead and bet them for the college football playoff. And then Diego Pavia, just ends up spanking them on week 1 of the season. And right then and there I go, well, that was the quickest future that ever died. That was pretty swift.
Jackson writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally. Good morning, old man Doug and the whole gang over there. Yeah. I was at the Virginia Tech spring game in early April this year. The team runs out to enter Sandman, and it was unreal. And there were only 25,000 people in the stadium, but you would have thought the stadium was full. I will be going back for their game against Miami this year. Thank you, Jackson, for the email.
Hell yeah. Send us video when you go.
Have you been to a game at Virginia Tech? Okay. Where does that rank on the remaining places that you would like to go?
I don't know. I mean, when I was living in Wheeling, I've driven through the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Okay.
Very pretty.
It's people that are Virginia Tech fans are very, very passionate. I do know that. Like, that is their team. It's in a small town. It is kind of in a remote area.
Yeah.
And that is their school, an ACC school. But they love football. And, I mean, look at when Beamer was there, they played for the national championship in 99. Mm-hmm. Is that Florida State beat them? So they love the Hokies. But they have a stadium that has one of the greatest entrances in all of sports, college and pro. I'm blown away. And I know why Metallica was there, because they use Enter Sandman. Metallica played in Blacksburg, Virginia last night.
A little different than when I saw them at Kemper.
That's power college football. I mean, I mean, it really is a reflection when you think about it of how impactful the game can be on an entire culture, to the point where you have one of the biggest bands ever, period, end of story, going to a town that I don't even think that most people have outside of college football might have even heard of, if we're being honest with you. So but
I mean, there's only 45,000 people that live in Blacksburg, Virginia.
That's not a lot. There's a lot of...
Not as much as Omaha.
Well, we're a town of 1 million.
Exactly.
I don't know if you knew about that.
I've heard.
Let's see. And we looked at this a while ago. Metallica is playing... Now they go to Columbus, but they're not playing at the Shoe. They're playing at the soccer stadium.
Ooh.
And they go to Philadelphia. They're in Charlotte. They're in Atlanta. They're in Tampa. They're in Houston. So they're at all football stadiums.
They're there tomorrow. I'm going to be there tomorrow.
And
how do you think a rock band would do in
Wait a minute. You're going to be in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow?
Yeah.
Why?
Tropical vacations and things got mixed up and stuff and end up there.
The Blue Jackets didn't make the NHL playoffs.
I know that. But Metallica's going to be there, so looks like I got my plans made.
Colin writes in about the Bill Byrne, who I think is the best athletic director that Nebraska has had. I said the best thing Bill Byrne did was win football, volleyball, men's and women's hoops, baseball. All were rolling under Bill Byrne, who got crap for ignoring football and worrying about the Olympic sports being dominant. Bill Byrne came along at the right time to bridge the Devaney era, where you had a football coach that was running an athletic department that needed to transition into, all right, we got to make some money.
Yeah.
And we've got to catch up to the times. There have been 2 football coaches that have been athletic directors at Nebraska that have left Nebraska with stone shoes. Bob Devaney and Tom Osborne. They were football coaches that tried a little bit of the football mentality to run an athletic department. Yeah. It didn't work. 2 incredible people that are on the Mount Rushmore. But in terms of running that job in today's age of athletics, whether it be back in the 80s and 90s or, 15 years ago, it just didn't work out. But when Bill Byrne came along, and he ruffled some feathers because it was like, you got to pay for your seats, okay? We got to generate some income. But the one thing I always loved about Bill was very personable, and I'm biased because I did his radio show for 7 years, is he got to know everybody.
Yeah.
Like he knew all the ushers, he knew the people that were in the parking lot, he knew all of those people, and he let people do their jobs, whether it be coaches or people that worked under him
first class
in the athletic department.
Well,
and he, again, he was an outsider. He came in, he took over for Bob Devaney. I don't know that T.O. initially was like raving about him. So people immediately jumped on the side of T.O. and like, oh, what is this guy doing? And now all of a sudden he's going to charge me something on top of the ticket price I already pay. But look at Bill. If 9/11 wouldn't have happened, the stadium would have been, so he had already raised money and was ready to put on the addition that is now on the east side. So that was already done. But then when 9/11 happened, he was told by the upper people, no, you cannot do that. That is, the timing is not good.
Sure.
Even though he had raised about 80% of the money.
Wow.
And so that money sat, and then Steve Peterson came in, and then the things picked up again, and you saw what happened to the stadium.
You talk about being personable, but then also letting coaches do their job. I know that our current athletic director hasn't been on the job long enough for us to really compare him to anybody, and especially compared to Bill Byrne right at this point. But I do think that's something that is common amongst Bill Byrne and Troy Dannon in the regard that Dannon kind of has allowed coaches to do their jobs in that regard and be in control of their sport, right? Matt Rule is he has full autonomy of what happens at football. And Troy Dannon does a lot to support, and a lot to support that being, if he needs something, he gives it to him. And if he doesn't need something, he'll get out of the way, right? But same thing, look at volleyball, right? Where he essentially allowed John Cook to pick the replacement, to make the next hire, to lead the program in the next step. There are some people who would have a bit of a power trip, no? And be like, no. I'm the athletic director. This is my athletic department. I'm going to make the decision. I'm going to put my mark and have my legacy and make sure that I make my hire. What does he do? He lets John Cook say, hey, no, we're going to hire Danny Busboom Kelly, right? And so I think that's important. And talk about like having the football mentality and maybe people trying to have their hands on every decision that's made. But there definitely is the dance and the tango of an athletic director of knowing, hey, when do I have to step in and when do I have to take matters for myself and make sure that we're moving in the right direction, but also have the awareness of, hey, Matt Rule knows more about football and the game and what's going on than I do. Danny Busboom Kelly knows more about volleyball than I do. Rhonda Revelle knows more about softball than I do. I'm going to let coaches do their jobs. And so I think that's something, and when you talk about Bill Byrne, that's something that I hear, and that's something that so far in the first, what are we now, 14 months into the Troy Dannon tenure, that he has shown that ability.
Sean writes in on the X machine. My only memory of Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. I was going to bring this up.
I
09 is painful to people. Matt O'Hanlon getting beat on a scramble deep pass.
I thought of it too, but I didn't want to.
I hope that's not, because Matt O'Hanlon, Omaha guy, had a nice career, a really good career at Nebraska. But talk about guys that are associated with one play.
Yeah.
He does have a tendency to be associated with that one play on a late Saturday afternoon in Blacksburg, Virginia in 2009 in a game that Virginia Tech rallied, courtesy of Tyrod Taylor, to beat Nebraska 16-15. And that also opened up the door of how much angst there was about that game, about how difficult it was to play in Bo's defense.
Yeah. Sure. Well, dude.
A couple weeks later in Columbia, Missouri, and Ndamukong Suh destroyed their hopes and dreams.
Well, I remember also in that game, there was Matt O'Hanlon had the sack before. Let's see, had the sack on first down. It was second and goal from the 11. Then they called a blitz again on third down, threw it away, and then he scrambles and finds Roberts in the end zone. 21 seconds to go, and Virginia Tech wins that football game.
Tyrod Taylor has been around football for so long now. It's he's had a 14-year NFL career. That is absolutely bonkers to think about.
I saw him in a bowl game long ago.
Tyrod Taylor needs a
Miami.
big contract. He's unfortunately been the longtime backup that never got the, hey, you're the guy now. We're going to give you the 4-year, $65 million, $30 million guaranteed. Tyrod, here are the keys. And then it always happens that same year they draft a quarterback in the first round. And it's like, no, Tyrod's our guy. He's going to start and we'll just have this guy behind him. And then 8 weeks later, the first round quarterback comes in and ends up taking over the job. That never happened to Tyrod. I feel bad for him.
Anyway, he made a lot of money.
Has he? 14 years?
I mean, that pays well.
He had 2 wins as a quarterback at Virginia Tech against Nebraska. He had the year before in 2008, which Nebraska down 28-10, and you think, man, they might come back and win this game.
Nate Swift, I remember.
Well, what was it? Virginia Tech scored on 6 straight possessions?
Jeez. The Saturday night game, yeah. I was supposed to go to that game.
They were just kicking. I mean, they were kick. It was a field goal kicking competition. Well, what did Keys kick in that game? What do you have, 4 field goals, I think? I mean, Tyrod Taylor in 2008 was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But okay,
we're done with full year.
We're done with those memories. But that, no one has brought up, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have Nebraska play Virginia Tech again or play Wake Forest again in a home and home? That's back in the day, yes. Oh, or Pittsburgh. I mean, Nebraska said, hey, let's dabble in the ACC.
Well, I remember
you had Pittsburgh, Wake Forest,
game.
and Virginia Tech all were home and homes during that stretch of almost back 2-year spans, starting with Callahan and then into Bo's year in 2008 and 2009.
No, you're going to be sitting up in the rafters, watching Nebraska be Bowling Green, being like, this is so much better than taking a road trip and playing another Power 5 team in what would be a somewhat competitive game.
Urban Meyer used to coach Bowling Green.
You're going to be playing Houston Christian, going to be like, I don't want to go to Blacksburg. Screw that, man. I want to whip on these bad teams. Screw going ahead and playing Tennessee. We got the Akron Zips here.
Well, they'll be motivated not being able to go to a bowl game.
They should sue them. They should sue the NCAA.
Oh,
why not?
They won't.
Everybody. I don't know. I mean, all these NCAA. I'm being honest. All these NCAA suits. There's another lawsuit, and I'm like, what are they suing for now? And I read it. I go, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then all of a sudden, we got players playing for 7 years in college. I don't know. You just sue the NCAA and you win. It's like
they're like, well, there's this part of being a student athlete. You guys are dumb. You didn't go to class. Okay, you as a collective unit, that guy that carries the 4.0 couldn't save some of you guys that are a 1.75.
They don't have
GPA.
any of those guys. Also, too, does Akron not have an academic department where they sit these guys down and they tell them, hey, you have to study, or do they not have tutors? Can they not bring in the cavalry and be like, hey,
some
guys?
Some people didn't go to Akron to play school.
Well,
they went to play football. Now, here's the thing. You can get away with that if you're good at football. But if you're not good at football, you got to be good at something. And if you're not good at school and you're not good at football, you know what? You don't get to go to a bowl game, and you have public shame, have to go stand in the corner.
My question is, what are they doing in Akron?
Basketball's pretty good. John Gross has things rolling over there.
No, the football team. The football team specifically.
They're not winning.
If they're not studying and they're not practicing.
They have a really, really nice stadium that they are hey, we need a MAC team to play on Tuesday. They are the perfect MAC team that plays on Tuesday.
See the snow
because
falling.
They will, and they'll draw 8,000 people to their stadium. It's a beautiful stadium.
I thought you were going to say they have a really, really nice frat house that they all venture to, that they all hang out at. But at least you get test banks at frat houses. Maybe they should join the frat.
You get what?
My dad used to tell me that the test banks, they would give you, they would give you the Scantron of what it would look like from the previous year's test. And then you would study that test bank, and then you would go ahead and, I think my dad was a graduate of Northwestern because he was smart. No, baby. Roll Pike.
You just threw Dad under the bus.
So your dad was a cheater?
Oh.
I mean, when we were talking about me joining a fraternity, and I was like, man, I don't know. I've already made friends or whatever. And he was like, well, when it comes to taking tests, they, back in my day, they could help you out, and you could get some certain answers and whatnot. And I go, really?
Is Northwestern really that hard?
Well,
I've heard that Stanford, it's hard. the hardest part about Stanford is getting into
Right.
Stanford.
So Malcolm Gladwell is famous guy, famous.
Have him on my bingo card today.
I don't know what you would call
Writer.
him. Speaker, talker, writer. He was like,
He's done stuff.
Talker.
He's done a lot of things. He's like the hardest.
Orator.
He goes, I don't know if there's that much of a difference in education between going to this school and going to that school. Like, I don't know if it's that much harder to get your degree at Harvard doing this specific study than it is going to this school and doing this specific study.
That's what John Baylor has told me. He said it was harder for him to get into Stanford, but once he was in school, it was not that difficult.
Now I picture him saying this.
Yes, sir. Nick writes in the Twitter at GarySharp1620. Has there ever been another Husker football game that was canceled right before kickoff? Like Frost opener, the Dark Cloud tenure, and now Akron is back. Why doesn't somebody do a 30 for 30 on that night? From Butch Hug to Scott Frost to Ndamukong Suh to where in the world is Bill Moose?
That would
It would be kind of entertaining.
That would be a great 30 for 30 podcast, you know? Like, I don't know if we need a whole, what if I told you that a whole game was botched on.
What if I told you that as the weather rolled in and decisions had to be made, we couldn't find the athletic director?
As the weather rolled in, the zips rolled out.
What if we told you that there were numerous phone calls to the missing athletic director's phone saying, Akron is packing up and leaving. What are we going to do?
That the game Brando was dancing in the booth during the rain delay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame him. It was a long delay.
That was also the night where Ndamukong Suh came. I mean, there was so much buildup for it.
Sure.
And Ndamukong Suh walks across the middle of the field and the place goes nuts. You know, he walks to go sit in the Nebraska locker room with the team, and the place is going nuts because Suh had not come back to Nebraska in a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He'd had a falling out with the whole Nebraska bookstore, Nike Town. Yeah, there's so many things about that night that we should have said, I knew it.
That would be a good
I knew it.
That would be a good podcast for you. Like, if you sat down with multiple people who were there that night who could recant the events that happened and just
people
the conversations.
People that were involved no longer are either they're retired or they've moved on to a different job.
Exactly.
Yeah, they might speak.
Now they can open up about it.
Do the squiggly voice deal like they do on TV.
And now, I mean, we could talk to the Akron head coach.
Do you think that'll be in Bill Moose's book? There'll be a whole chapter, The Night of Akron. The Night of Nightmares.
The night it rained in Lincoln.
The art
Which
of it.
one?
Hey,
Which one?
The art of a deal.
There was no art of what occurred there. Zero art.
Hey, thank God Butch Hug was involved. Because if not, we still might be waiting for kickoff for that game. A little bit later, Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards. Also, when we come back, your dad was a cheater at Northwestern.
Well, academically.
I don't know.
Maybe. Probably socially,
kind of
too.
a big deal.
Blakey Jake says, time for me to come clean. I cheated my way through high school. Don't tell Sister Mary.
You know what? I did not cheat my way through the last 3
Not
years
cheating,
of
it's comparing answers. There's a difference.
college.
I mean, I should have cheated. I would have done a lot better.
You do better when you cheat. Not to saying that cheaters prosper, but my success rate was
college football better when cheating was allowed? And you could go under the table.
1,000,000%. And we're eventually going to get back to that, which will be absolutely incredible.
Shout out cheating.
Shout out cheating.
All right. If you've been cheated on, you're probably not very happy with this segment. But whether you cheated in school or not, it's time to learn Icelandic language. Scary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Moose Roofing. Here's what you need to learn. Okay. They speak the best because they are the best in roofing, siding, gutters in Omaha. An Omaha roofing company. Okay. They don't just drive into town when the storms have passed. They're here before, during, and after the storm. They've been here for nearly 30 years, specializing in serving people, focused on restoration, focused on helping you with insurance, gutters, roofing systems, all of those things that they do. Residential roof repair service, commercial roofing, everything that Moose Roofing does. From their consultants that sit down with you and walk you through the process and get to know what you need to get on your roof and assess all of the needs, and then go to work and do it top notch, where when it's done, you would never know that somebody was there. There's not crap all over your yard. There's not a big dumpster. They take care of everything because they are professional and they want you as a client for life. So if the most valuable thing is your home and you're thinking, what's wrong with our roof? Make a call today, 402-763-4851 to Moose Roofing. Pat Moose and his crew, they will take care of you. They will get out. They will inspect. They will go to work for you. And you know what? They'll even pick up the phone and work with your insurance company because that has become very, very difficult. From top to bottom, from start to finish, Moose Roofing is number one for a reason. Find out if you need your roof, siding, or gutters taken care of. Moose Roofing, online at mooseroofing.com. All right, day number 2, where you can get some value at the Vatican.
Yeah, I cannot believe when I did my morning sweep that I did not include the Vatican in here in terms of odds and whatnot.
Well, we're 0 for 2. We've had 2 chimney releases, and both have been black smoke, so we're 0 for 2. But do not overlook, day 2, you can find some value in your favorite Cardinal.
You can.
Scouting
and look, and what they're
discussion.
saying about this conclave at this point is that the 10th best pope is almost like the 60th best pope, right? Or the 10th best cardinal is like the 60th best cardinal. So, I mean, I don't know how many superstars that we have in this current conclave, but man, there's going to be a lot of Catholics who are going to be happy with the selection.
You need a Brett Veach in the process in that world to really do the due diligence and scout thoroughly to pick the right guy.
I wonder if Atlanta is going to make a ridiculous trade in order to get more of a say in who gets selected here. I think Rome is currently on the phone with the Vatican trying to get a late deal done. They need
Pickens
superstar.
is off the board, so
yeah.
I don't think I would put him into the category of being a Cardinal.
You know, we need to get
unless he was in Arizona.
We need to get the Jacksonville Jaguars GM to introduce the next pope. Like, just fly him in, get him on a plane, have him sit down with the Pope and be like, you know, do you know what's so special about religion? Its abilities to make stories.
I just look forward to Kuiper's meltdown.
Have you seen that full press conference?
Yes.
That was, some people clown the guy. I loved it. I loved every second of that presser. I just thought it's a young dude who's just who loves football, who's just trying to connect with his audience. And the young people, I feel like a lot of young people were like, that guy's a dork. And a lot of older people were like, hell yeah, football, baby.
Duval.
Duval. No, you got to say it different. Duval.
I'm not a Jackson. I'm not a Southern Georgian.
Duval. That's how Liam Cohen says it.
State of Florida doesn't even acknowledge Jacksonville. They let Georgia have Jacksonville. We'll trade Jacksonville for Valdosta.
I wouldn't. I'm not familiar with that area. Whenever we get to the lower East Coast, right? When we get to the Carolinas,
otherwise known as the South.
No. There's a mid. There is a mid
bottom
line.
right part of the map.
Mid-Atlantic.
There's Mid-Atlantic. I'm unfamiliar.
Carolinas will consider themselves Southern.
But the Virginias and the West Virginias, and
Mid-Atlantic.
Man, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't really know that area too well.
Most people don't know geography. There was
it took me watching an Appalachian State game to be like, wow, look at those mountains, you know?
There
stadium.
There was something on Twitter about a debate on a radio station in Pittsburgh if Pennsylvania is considered in the Midwest.
No.
Whoa.
If I'm being honest with you,
well, we have redrawn our boundaries.
Wow.
Pennsylvania is the East Coast. Philly is the East Coast Chicago. You should let that, they all have to. It's already good. We're already fine. I don't know why people are trying to redefine. There are some people in the East.
People want to be in the Midwest.
There's some people in the East Coast.
Life is better in the Midwest. We have our own Twitter account.
There's
what Midwestern people say.
There's some people in the East Coast who were trying to claim Ohio because Ohio's in an Eastern time zone, and they're trying to be East Coast national champion, Ohio. And no, we got it. We have the East Coast, the Midwest, the South, Southwest. We got the Great Plains. We're good. I don't know why people we got to stop changing things at work.
There used to be a Mid-East regional in the tournament,
which
which used to confuse me because this is about 1990.
What would be considered Mid-East?
Well, I was really confused because at that point I was like, didn't we just win that war? I don't understand this. And I asked my dad,
we had a war? We had a Mid-East war?
Middle East war. This was about 90-91. So I was little and very inquisitive when they said Mid-East regional.
So Middle East regional.
I was like, whoa, I guess we took over.
I guess we actually are playing in Uzbekistan.
Yes, we are. We may be someday going to Iceland because yesterday, after we got off the air, Nebraska basketball got a 7-footer.
Yeah.
You cannot coach height. Leo Curtis has been a late addition. He's a 4-star, considered a top 100 player. How come when Nebraska basketball gets a player in this late in the cycle, and there's a lot of intrigue to the tall Icelander, we don't ever say, good job, NIL. The NIL for Nebraska basketball takes hits here and there.
Yeah.
And there's so much confusion on how much money is available and how it's used. But when Nebraska gets a late addition, and who knows what the NIL looked like, but he's represented, and there was after he decommitted from Arizona State, there was some interest in him. How come we don't praise that Nebraska's NIL worked this time?
I just think that we just have such a negative connotation of what has happened on that floor. And it is a little toxic from the standpoint where it is kind of hard for us to compliment this
Well, let's do it now.
basketball program
Let's say
because
part
of the fact
reason
that they
was the people that were in his ear that had played at Nebraska.
Yeah.
That Lincoln looks like Reykjavik. That, hey, it's a good place. But also say, you know what? Nebraska won an NIL. Now they probably didn't spend, $2 million.
Well, that's
their NIL probably put them ahead of some of the other schools that were pursuing him.
I do think that's the problem, though, where people think that you can only compliment NIL when you go out and you get a big fish that like Kansas and Illinois and Syracuse and Florida and Auburn were all competing for. Like you can only compliment teams when they spend an exuberant amount of money as opposed to getting small wins and like actually investing to build like a cohesive team that can be deep and versatile, right? Like, but I think with this as well is that I think the hype around high school prospects, especially with this program, but just college basketball in general, unless you're like top 10, top 15, top 20, and you're like a future first round one and done draft pick, that we don't get as excited about them anymore because it's like, well, they're so far behind in the depth chart. There's a lot of older guys ahead of you. Heck, we can redshirt you, but there is a very good chance that you may end up. But I'm just laying it out there.
Hoiberg, no redshirting.
Well,
no redshirting of Mr. Leo Curtis.
But there's less and less. Like, look at that very famous graphic we had in the Sweet 16 for the NCAA tournament of the starters on all the teams that were still remaining. And a lot of those teams had 3 or 4 or maybe all of their starters come from different schools. It's just high school recruiting doesn't have that grip on you anymore in basketball because it's like, well, it's actually a bigger deal to go out and get a guy who just was a Missouri Valley Conference, all-teamer over there. Like, that's like, those are bigger acquisitions because they can for sure make an impact right away.
So your comment about high school recruiting when it comes to Nebraska, and this isn't a Hoiberg thing. Miles was the kind of the same way. Outside of Bryce McGowan's high school players at Nebraska playing early. Yeah. So there's a balance here of this commitment. And I think this is a really good pickup.
I do too.
It's not a game changer. Please don't redshirt him because all I do is have this fear of, you know what, you redshirt him, people get in his ear, and you work a year developing him and putting weight on him, and he walks out the door, and what do you have? I would say let him develop on the floor. It might be playing against Alabama A&M and Joe 30 minutes on a December night.
Yeah.
But still, that's better than redshirting and him leaving. But there's the balance of getting a pickup like this. And again, 7'1". He's a little bit older because I think he'll be 20 during the course of this upcoming season. But he's a top 100 player.
Yeah, 89th is his exact rating.
So 4-star.
Yep.
Is Nebraska basketball's history with high school players outside of Bryce McGowan's. And remember, I think they have a high school player that has got a pop. I mean, we have too many Lloyds and Rices that don't pan out. But Rhymes I really like. So you have that going against the history of high school guys at Nebraska just don't really pan out. And then you balance it against Nebraska's done a really nice job across multiple coaching staffs of international guys that come to Nebraska, and they're probably a little bit ahead of development-wise of a high school freshman of they do well.
Yeah.
And so you have to balance that, but don't redshirt him. Let him develop on the floor. I know that you got to put weight on him, but I love his feet. I love his game. He's got a handle. He's got some intrigue. It's a good pickup. Do not redshirt him. Do not redshirt him and say, well, we got to get him stronger. Yeah, he has a body that will probably be eaten up in the Big Ten, but I would like him to play at least some this year in game action than sitting out working in the weight room and you're going, okay, are we going to have to worry about him because now we got him up to standards and somebody's going to come pluck him off our roster?
Well, I agree with you in that regard because you've seen it happen too many times. And then on top of that, like he has a high ceiling. Like watching his tape, he's long. He's not, so he's 7'1", but there's a frame there. Like there's an ability to put on that weight and make him stronger. And he's got basketball skill. I mean, if you watch his highlight tapes, it is a lot of 3-point shooting. There's a lot of mid-range shooting. He's not afraid to pull up at the elbow. I think the biggest thing for him is going to be speed. He's got to get quicker. His release has to get quicker. Just him himself running up and down the court has to get quicker. But he's got the height, the length, basketball ability. Like he has the ability.
But wouldn't he fit in with this year's team? Because this will be another year where
I don't
really have. They're very versatile, but they don't have a lot of athleticism.
If he can get quicker, if he can become faster right away, like right out the chute, yes, absolutely. Because I do think that he's just got. I mean, he's got God-given the gifts, right, of height and length, and then he's a basketball player. Like this isn't one of those things. Like, but you know what I'm saying?
He's 7'1". He's not a soccer player, which
he's not an accountant.
As a youngin in Iceland, I think I like his feet.
Yeah,
I'm a nerd. I think his feet are helped by the fact that he was a soccer player.
Look
as
at
a
Hakeem.
youth.
Hakeem played soccer.
He's 7'1". He's a basketball player.
But what I mean by he's a basketball player, it's not.
He's
just,
not a toll collector.
Well, no, he's not just this athlete who you have to like teach how to play the game and is just jumping around everywhere like
he's
that.
Not an abominable snowman.
And he's not just this 7'4" guy. We were like, all right, we're gonna put him in the paint and like pray. Like he actually when you watch him play, it's like, oh wow, he actually can shoot the basketball. He can actually put the ball down. He can actually dribble the ball. It's just
stretch 5.
Yeah, he can.
Good passer.
Like it.
Like you said, good feet. If he gets faster, the ceiling is really, really high for this guy. He's just got to get quicker.
See, I think there's another part, and I think all 3 Division I basketball teams, some more than others, have dipped their toes in the international waters, and you have to have a connection.
Yeah.
You can't just wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to go recruit Slovenia. Okay, that's just something you don't do.
Going to Reykjavik.
You know what? Let's see if there's any Russians out there that are still playing ball. Let's see where the next Sabonis is.
Where are you going this week? Austria? Who do you know out there? Nobody.
But having Luka on your, not Doncic, at Nebraska, that would be pretty. I mean, hey,
that would be a flex.
Shaq is a long distance GM. There's a current NBA player that just took on a role.
Oh, Steph Curry is at Davidson.
Yeah.
Oh, Trae Young is at Oklahoma.
Yeah, but the NBA guys are like,
yeah.
So, but having somebody that gets promoted to being the GM, but having connections internationally. Again, Nebraska's had success with international players.
No,
I mean, I looked at him, and as Nebraska was kicking the tires and didn't look like they were going to get Perez, I was like, okay, Martin Crumpel, who played at Creighton, a stretch 5 who could shoot it from the outside, who was an international player. Like Creighton has had success with international players.
Well,
I mean, Nebraska has had success with international players. I mean, the big Dutchman is coming back this year.
Well,
he's not from like Adams, Nebraska. He's from international. But of all the competition for players in all sports, and you're starting to see this in wrestling because Penn State is now grabbing wrestlers from Japan, who they have an incredible wrestling background.
Incredible regiment.
If you have the ability and you have connections and knowledge on your staff, the international world is open. And we see it's open in the NBA. They are ahead of our high school freshmen or our college freshmen. If you can do it, do it. And I look at him and I go, okay, he's probably ahead of some of the freshmen that Nebraska was recruiting at the time, but just don't redshirt him. Don't redshirt him. Okay? Get him here. It's going to be here in June. Put some weight on him. But don't have him sitting at the end of the bench wearing Nebraska gear and everybody goes, oh, that's what it might be. Think about when Mast is gone. He'll be the guy that at the top of the key is facilitating the offense by passing. Let him play. Let him play. Even if he didn't play much in February or he plays early and you're like, okay, now we got some stuff to work on.
Yeah.
And then he plays a little bit in February. I have PTSD about Janowski and redshirting and guys not sticking around when you're like, that would have been nice.
We're on a great streak now of Janowski and Rice and Jamel Lloyd. And not that those guys would have ended up being absolute superstars and whatnot, but there is a current pattern of you bring high school guys in, you don't play them, they end up leaving. I still think the international market and we're seeing it become more popular in college basketball, but still there is part of it that is untapped, and if you are a team like Nebraska, who, it's hard for them to compete, we'll just call it domestically, right? For some of these top guys, because, Nebraska has an NIL budget and Nebraska does spend money, and that is something that they've proven this transfer portal cycle, but they still aren't a team that's going to spend $3.2 million on one player, right? They're just not going to be able to get those top guys within America. And so with a relatively untapped market in the international cycle and with their connections there, and now the fact that they can look back and be like, look, we have Burke Buchtenjow, we have Rink Mask, we have Leo Curtis, we have Keisei Tominaga, not necessarily from Europe, but an international player. Look at how much success that some of these guys have had. This isn't, and there also too is like Nebraska basketball can pitch to international prospects. Hey, we know how to take care of you. We know how to make sure that you feel at home. We've been through this process with many people.
We have winter here.
Yeah.
It'll remind you of home.
Isn't that funny? Like, isn't that a pitch?
That's
Don't worry,
where the
it'll
climate
snow.
can help
It'll
you.
snow. It won't be too hot. That's why Florida can't get the international prospects. Too much sun.
Isn't
Actually Florida does do a pretty
isn't
good
the
job of getting
7'6"
international guys.
dude? Isn't he?
He's international. Yeah.
Canadian?
He's Canadian. Is he Canadian? I thought he was European. I remember seeing him on Instagram.
Some will say it's the same thing.
Yeah,
I remember seeing him in.
they speak French. in
Ovechkin
Canada.
could be Russian or Canadian.
No, he's Russian. He is Russian.
Are you sure?
He's Russian.
I heard that he might be Canadian the other day.
No. He is Russian. Panarin might be Canadian because Panarin's soft.
So all three Division I basketball teams have an international flavor. a guy that nobody is talking about. I should say nobody in Creighton's recruiting class is the Serbian.
Yeah,
7 foot. He's also 7'1", and he committed. And he was recruited by Creighton and came on a visit during the season. Like, no one brings his name up. So the international market is wide open.
It is,
but I think it's just the international players are better at Nebraska than your high school freshmen, which is kind of wild.
Man,
I might say something about your development.
I'll never
or a plan.
I'll never get tired of watching baby hooks in the post ever. I will never get tired of having stretch 4s and stretch 5s. That's what Europe does. They're all stretches. Like they all can shoot. It's absolutely incredible.
Zach writes into the Equitable Bank inbox about Mr. Curtis. Said, turn him into the mountain. Turn him in to the mountain from Game of Thrones. Is that Gregor?
Yeah, that's the power lifter.
Okay.
Yeah.
He'd have to put on some weight.
He
Husker
can.
Power would have to work overdrive.
Also, some hearty, good old Midwestern comfort.
Yeah, chili and cinnamon rolls. That'll do it.
How come there's no fat 7-footers from Europe?
Because they all eat incredible food that doesn't have preservatives, and their water is actually healthier than our water here, which does lead to some of those things.
Whoa.
But Nikola Jokic is fat, but he didn't get fat until he came to America. Same thing with Luka. Luka pre-American diet.
You saw that tweet?
Post-American diet. Lord.
So America makes international people fat.
Yes.
And that's how we get them.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Whew. They're not going to come here. There's going to be many reasons they don't come here for the World Cup next year.
You see Maxi Kleba blow up?
Ooh, Kansas City? Oh, hell yes.
Gained a lot of weight.
Does the opposite effect have? If we're fat and we're Americans and we go international, we lose weight?
You walk everywhere, you start smoking more, but you look great.
Dana White had a viral clip where he's like, I was in Italy for 4 weeks and I ate crap food, pasta, pizza, whatever.
Yeah.
I lost 6 pounds. He's like, I don't get it. Like their food, it's like it just goes through you.
I do know people that have gone on vacation over there. You do walk a lot.
Yeah, that's.
You just walk off all that pasta and pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I'll go to Ireland. I'll walk bar to bar.
Coming up, speaking of Ireland, good place to eat. Sarah Baker Hansen joins us in about an hour. Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards as well on 1620 The Zone.
I'd like to go with Matt to Ireland, and you can too if you're successful. While during the NBA playoffs, the humans are scoring buckets. You could score cash on Underdog so that we can all go with Matt to Ireland. Underdog is a leading place to make all your sports picks, and you can play now in your state, which is a great state of Nebraska. Unless you're listening somewhere else, but that's neither here nor there. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next to play? All you have to do is download the app, choose whether a player will go higher or lower and what other stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more. If you're a Celtics fan, you can just take the under on all the 3-pointers. You probably will win. Once your picks feel good, you can play with as little as $1. If you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money tonight on Underdog. There's only one NBA game, and it's Warriors Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are a substantial favorite, so you would think that you look at the Ant-Man to do well points-wise, and I think I'll go with that because he's going to play a lot better, and so are they. I don't know if they're going to win by 10.5, but that's not what this is about. This is about how many points or rebounds or something like that they might score, get, whatever. You name it. All right, let's see what happens. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, what do Lincoln Riley, Luke Fickell, and Matt Rule all have in common?
Lincoln Riley, Luke Fickell, Matt Rule.
They coach ball.
I don't know. They all have like not great hair, but not bad hair. Like,
Okay.
like they're not like holy crap. That's like a Jeff Gundy like type mane, but they're also not like losing their hair at an alarming rate where you're like, oh no, that's bad. They all got meh hair.
Coach, if you're listening, I don't know either. At least you still have your hair.
All three guys in the last 2 years have almost the same exact record.
Wow. That is a pretty good stat with Lincoln Riley. Now, I do think that USC team was a lot better than what they were made out to be last season. They should have beaten Michigan in the Big House. I mean, Will Johnson had one of the best pick sixes I've seen, and then Michigan did the impossible, and they had an 80-yard drive with 3 minutes to go, and they just ran the ball all the way down the field, which is the whole welcome to the Big Ten USC type deal that we saw. But I mean, is it getting like to what point does it start getting a little uncomfortable in Southern California for Lincoln Riley?
Well, of those three, if your expectation going in, and Lincoln Riley's been at USC for 3 years, but
yeah,
they're the furthest from the expectation that you would think, because they're 14 and 11 in the last 2 years. I think then there would be probably Wisconsin, because Fickell was coming off Cincinnati being in the playoff. I think for the most part, the expectation of what Rule would do is probably closer.
I agree.
This is a big year for USC. Can they get into the top four of the Big Ten? But one thing that is helping him is the way they're recruiting for the class of 26.
Yes.
I mean, they have the number one class, and they just keep adding to it. I don't know. This is like all three. This is like a big year for them, like to break through and to reach what is expected of them. Like the expectations for Rule, because it's year 3, are different now. The expectations for Fickell, I think, have been lowered. The expectations for Lincoln Riley haven't changed.
No, I think Fickell has the expectations have lowered this season just because of the insane schedule that they're going to end up playing. But I think that overall, I mean, the expectation is that Wisconsin is going to be in that top 4 Big Ten picture next season. I don't think that changes. But Riley, people thought that, hey, right away, he was going to come in from Oklahoma and they were going to be automatic winners and they were going to light the college football world on fire. And they have fell drastically short of that mark over the last few years. Granted, I give them credit. I think the team was better last year than the record showed. But
your record is what your record says you are.
Not wrong there.
7-6, 7-5, 5-7. That's who you are. Nobody's ever looked at a 7-6 record and gone, man, that looks like a 10-win team. Unless you're Nebraska under Scott Frost.
Well, we looked at a 3-win team and said they should have won 9 games.
Yeah, and then we looked at a 9-win team in Nebraska and said, how did they ever win 9 games? 2 in the books, 2 to go. Sarah Baker Hansen coming up the next hour. Steve Sipple will stop by. I think he's a 9 winner for 2025. I don't know if anybody's pegged him yet, pinned him down and said, what will be the record? We'll do that when he joins us about 9:15 on 1620 The Zone. All right, 8:03 on a Thursday morning. Gary and Matt with Jimmy, 1620 The Zone, the app, the stream, the YouTubers, wherever you might get us. Go to our website, by the way, and you can go see Kenny Chesney in concert. We're giving away a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Las Vegas to see Kenny Chesney at the Sphere coming up in July. We got tickets, airfare, and your stay at the Luxor covered. But you have to get qualified, and the only way to get qualified is go to our website, 1620thezone.com. And fill out the form, put in your email, and then you're in the hopper. As one of the people that can get drawn, and you're off to Vegas with Joey Colbert.
Hell of a tour guide.
Whoa.
He's the tour guide for the...
Is he actually?
Methodical?
No, we've just
planned
we just
perfectly?
designated him that.
Does Joey know?
No, Joey's about to find out, and he'll be like, this is great.
He's going to need
Should
it
bring
after
Joe
this week.
Oh, it's so disappointing.
Even his tweets last night, you can just tell he's defeated. I just don't know if his Celtics are going to come back.
It's good he wasn't here because I would have brought him in and chastised him for his team's terrible performance because they're allowing...
Why would you be mean to the future boss?
Because his team needs to figure it out.
Well, there's
start
start with
games.
one player, and that would be Jason Tatum, who 13 points last night. Bruh.
Did he? I think he shot 15 threes again last night, if I'm not mistaken. He shot...
Who didn't
no,
shoot
he
threes
shot-
last night?
He had 19 shots. 5 of them were threes, and you went 5 of 19 from the floor.
I mean, the only guy that really played well for them was Derek White.
Well, he went 3 of 11.
Because he's a
three.
Spur.
Derek
He has
White,
championship
Derek
pedigree.
White was here for the Nebraska-Colorado game. He's a Colorado alum, and he was hanging out with Shireman.
Yeah.
And people were talking crap to Shireman, not even realizing there's Derek White. Oh, by the way, we just were on the Olympic team. Derek White's hanging out with Baylor Shireman, and people weren't even paying attention to him.
Creighton
They were
basketball.
just giving crap to Shireman.
The hate of Creighton basketball has absolutely blinded Nebraska basketball fans
It was
from worrying about...
wild. Like people, like him and Shireman were together, and they were ignoring Derek White.
Well, yeah. Derek White is, by the way, one of the best role players of like this generation in terms of like dudes you just plug and play and you know that they can give you quality minutes off the bench. He did it for the damn Olympic team. And people don't even want to acknowledge him. And that's the thing, though. The blinders, man. The blinders. You can't just come into PBA and blow a kiss to people and think you're going to get away with it.
It was wild to see on the sidelines. Like there's Derek White. Not like, oh, hey, can I get your autograph? They're like, just who is the guy that is with Shireman? Like, he's kind of recognizable. I mean, Derek White has a look.
I'd have been like, we miss you.
Right now,
ignored.
Derek White should never have shaved. All right. Like he should have hopped on the bandwagon of all of these different players who just refuse to get rid of their really, really bad haircuts. Coaches. Kalkbrenner, by the way, mocked to go to the Celtics. Pick number 32 in the latest mock draft.
Creighton's a farm system for the Celtics. It's
Eagles like Nebraska.
known.
Celtics like Creighton.
That's what many are saying.
Find yourself a pipeline.
And then they signed Doug as a free agent.
And then Matt takes over.
And then Boston comes here and plays an exhibition game at the Chi.
Can you imagine if, the Villanova Knicks, the Creighton Celtics?
Would they do an AT&T commercial?
What would they be wearing?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't see any of them being a little visor.
I don't see any
That
of
is
them.
such an awkward commercial.
I don't see any of them wearing
You have me till the
a
visor.
blue suit jacket with like a shirt that basically makes you look shirtless.
No. Sarah Baker Hansen coming up in about 40 minutes. It is list season. USA Today put out their top 25 coaches. I don't think there's any list of coaches currently in college football that will not have Kirby Smart and Ryan Day 1, 2. If you don't, I'd love to hear from you on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline. Now 402-951-1620.
Dabo's still got it. It's Dabo's country still.
What world would you put Dabo Sweeney ahead of Ryan Day?
Right now, no world. Currently.
But Dabo will be probably three. Got a national championship. The one guy that has risen is Sark. So Sark is fourth. James Franklin is fifth on this list. Now, whenever I look at these lists, I have questions because Kirk Cignetti is really high on this list as well. I know that he is one. He's 130 and 37 across 4 college stops. But now that he's at a big boy job, I don't like to put coaches that have only been 1 year at their particular place on this list unless they have a past history, because I don't know if it's sustainable.
Sure.
Indiana's in a good spot, but they're probably not going to be in the playoff again this year. Now, he's a good coach, but he's 13th on this list ahead of Kirk Ferentz. What would Kirk Ferentz have to do? And I think this is Kirk Ferentz's last year, by the way.
Sure.
I think he'll get the Big Ten record, and then he'll say, peace out. What would Kirk Ferentz have to do to move into the top 10 of current college football coaches? Let me just get before
Go
you
ahead. Sorry.
respond. Dan Lanning is 6, Marcus Freeman 7, Kellen DeBoer 8, Lane Kiffin 9, Brian Kelly 10, who Brian Kelly has dropped a little bit.
Well, and Brian Kelly, I don't know if you've been on LSU Tiger Twitter, but there are a lot of people who are saying that if they don't win enough this year, if they're not competitive in the SEC, that they want him gone.
He should be. If you look at their portal class.
Absolutely. And like the money they invested and the recruits that they've gotten. So first off, I would put Dan Lanning ahead of James Franklin at this point. And I'd be on the border of putting Freeman over Franklin.
Okay.
But I think that Dan Lanning has just built a really great program there at Oregon, and they got by what was by far the best team in college football last season. But we can't ignore the fact that they were the best team all the way up until they ended up, playing the buzzsaw that was Ohio State. What would Kirk Ferentz have to do? Kirk Ferentz.
Let me go back to something.
Go ahead.
So the attention around Penn State football this year and how James Franklin handles it, while also thinking, well, he did not handle being heckled at the spring game very well.
Yeah.
He's got a defensive coordinator who the Ohio State-Penn State game has taken on a whole different level of significance. Yes. There's going to be a lot of attention, and maybe even preseason number 1 will be Penn State. I think Joel Klatt has him as preseason number 1. So when James Franklin gets squeezed this year, what comes out of James Franklin? But you're putting Dan Lanning and Marcus Freeman ahead of him. How high? No, you're not alone.
Yeah.
But how high? Let's say James Franklin wins a national title. Does James Franklin jump to a number 3 on this list ahead of Dabo?
Ahead of Dabo. Well, it depends on what Clemson does this year, right? Like if Clemson once again in a weaker ACC finds themselves playing in the college football playoff, I don't know if I really want to punish.
But you'd
Dabo
be back
for that.
James Franklin would go, and this is assuming he wins a national title. He'd go from the semifinals last year to the national champion.
I think
I think with him, you have to take out your personal beliefs because there's a lot of detractors that focus on what he isn't.
Isn't it
But Penn State's relevant because of him. He just can't win big games.
It's weird though, where it's like you get into the argument of where, okay, is James Franklin overrated, right? Because he hasn't been able to beat the top of the teams in the Big Ten and the top teams in the nation. But then you start punishing him, and then you get into the argument of, is he underrated? Because Penn State is constantly at the top of these conversations. And I mean, they were ranked number 2 in the country last year, right? That's no small potatoes at that point. They were in the Big Ten title game. And so it's really his path or his how we look at James Franklin is just very interesting to me, because it's like you can't call him a bad coach, but you can't call him an elite coach, which is why I think Penn State has one of the most intriguing stories in the entirety of the Big Ten this year, because I still think that Ohio State is going to be better. But they have by far the best running back duo in the country. They have, you can make the argument, Drew Aller is the best quarterback in the country, period, end of story. And he's by far the best returning quarterback, like in terms of returning starter.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, he's by far that. Now, losing Tyler Warren, they're going to have to figure it out in terms of the wideouts in the passing game. And they have a ton of talent on the defensive end. But Franklin is just so interesting to me because it's like, okay, Texas, right? What does Texas do this year? Because if Texas has a great season, which I anticipate them having, I'm not putting Franklin over Sark, even if they go ahead and win a national championship. Dabo, it's like,
whoa. So a guy that wins a national championship, you'd still keep him behind Sark?
If Sark, what does Texas do, right? If Franklin goes ahead.
So that's an interesting point. Let's say Notre Dame won the national championship last year. What would you do with Ryan Day?
I would probably
Would Ryan Day be behind Sark?
No, but he would be behind Kirby.
Yeah, he's
he is behind.
He's behind Kirby no matter what. Because the James Franklin. So we did a drastic reevaluation of Ryan Day as a head coach, even with a 70-10, 46-5 mark in the Big Ten. His winning percentage.
Yeah.
If he continues this for what is he going into his 7th year? If he continues this for a couple of more years, like that pace, he'll have the second highest winning percentage among college football coaches. The only one above him would be Newt Rockne, but he won a national championship. We reevaluated him. Yeah. Wouldn't we do the same thing with James Franklin?
Well, so here's the thing. Am I being unfair here? Because James Franklin wins a national championship, hypothetically. Mm-hmm. And I don't think James Franklin as, oh my God, he finally did a great coach. I think of it as, well, finally. Took you long enough. You know? I mean, how many shots did you really need in order for this to happen? This should have been the expectation. That's what I think immediately.
So did you have the same mindset with Ryan Day?
No, because Ryan Day had beaten James Franklin and had beaten those teams and had won Big Ten titles and had, outside of the Michigan problem, had been dominant at the not just like the top 3, at the very top of the conference. Franklin hasn't. Now, Ryan Day, like in terms of beating top 5 teams and whatnot, hasn't had the success that Urban Meyer had, which is one of his biggest detractors. But I still think, without a doubt, he's had more success. But I'll admit, I may be being unfair to Franklin in this convo, because that's my first thought. My first thought isn't, oh, he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. He finally wins the championship he's been so close to. My first thought is, okay, took you long enough. Like, can you do it again? And that might be unfair, but at the same time, he has always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. And the closest he has gotten to being, the guy is this year with the Big Ten championship game and making the semifinal. But Ryan Day is a guy who had done that so many times before. And so I don't think those two are necessarily comparable.
I have a hard time with a guy who wins a national championship. He's still behind a guy that does not have a national championship.
But I think it is dependent on.
So maybe trying to figure out your thinking. Do you think that Dabo should not be the 3rd best coach in college football?
But it's just Dabo has just won so much previously, where it's just hard without someone winning a national championship to take him off of that pedestal. Now,
but he stays at number 3 because he's won a national championship?
Well, he's won. Yeah. The thing with Sark, it's a great question. It's tough. It's just that Sweeney and Sark haven't had as consistent failures as James Franklin has had, right? That I think is the biggest difference. They haven't fallen flat on their face as much as Franklin does. And despite the fact that Franklin wins a national championship, it's still hard for me to remove all of the failures of the last decade of them. But that's a terrible thing too, right? I'm calling it failures. This team has consistently won 10 games every single season, been at top of the Big Ten, has had great players, great teams, guys who've gone off and been incredible in the NFL. Like, they still are a top program. It's just that when we get to these small margins, those singular games and singular moments matter so much. And James Franklin has stacked up, in my opinion, so many of those failing small moments that turn into big moments that it's hard for me to just, okay, yeah, now finally, like but once again, I might be being unfair by saying finally, because he is a damn good coach, which, I mean, it just comes back to full circle of like, it's just so intriguing what they have this year. But
I think 5, 6, and 7 and this is in USA Today are probably interchangeable. Marcus Freeman is on the uptick. I mean, it's Kirby Day, and then you could make a debate about Dabo being 3, but with a national championship, and the only 3 guys currently in college football that have a national championship.
It's just hard for me to take Dabo off the top 3 because I think he's such a good coach. I really do believe that, but I think that I probably would concede that if Franklin were to win a national championship, that you would put him 3rd, but I would do it reluctantly, and I would be a little bit quicker to pull him off that pedestal than I would a Dabo Swinney. I think that's the right answer.
But these are always, because further down on the list is one that you can say is interchangeable, but I think is incorrect here. So Matt Rule is 18th on this list. He is behind Josh Heupel, who got to the playoff, has beaten Alabama twice. So Rule is 18th. I don't think he is currently going into this season. If we're looking at overall resume at the college level, he should not be in front of who is number 19, and that's Brett Bielema.
I couldn't agree more. And
Illinois won 10 games last year. Bielema, what did he win? He had 3 Rose Bowl appearances, 7 years at Wisconsin, knows how to win in the Big Ten, 68 wins. Yeah, the Arkansas thing was a failure in his 5 years, but he was out of his comfort zone. He's back into his comfort zone. I would put him ahead of Rule. But again, when you get to, in all these coaching lists, when you get past the top 10, when you get past like the top 12, most of these guys are interchangeable. Like Chris Kleiman, in my opinion, needs to be higher. He's 48 and 28 in 6 seasons at Kansas State.
I agree.
Kirk Ferentz is Signetti ahead of Kirk Ferentz? Kyle Whittingham, of course, is scratching the number, the top 10. But here's the one that got the most discussion amongst people I was talking about this list with, is Matt Campbell at number 11.
That's interesting. And I think that is a guy who's benefiting a lot off of the previous success. Not that Iowa State's been terrible or bad, but
played in the Big 12 championship game last year.
Oh, yeah.
Twice he's almost made the playoff.
I think he deserves the respect. And I think there are guys on this list, too.
Well, 11 might be high, but does that say more about what's behind him?
Well, I think it says more about what Iowa State was before he took over. And I think that he definitely is getting credit for winning at a place that hasn't had that historical resume which is why Curt Cignetti is number 13 on this list, because no one has ever deemed Indiana to be a football school or a true contender, and in one season he was able to turn that around.
See, but I put those guys off on the side because I have to see it's sustainable. These lists, you can't have. Okay, let's just do this.
How many guys?
Let's say Signetti. Let's say Indiana, the bottom falls out this year. They're 6-6. Does Signetti go from being a top 15 coach, all of a sudden he drops back out of the top 25, and he's living in the world where in this list they have Mario Cristobal and Dan Mullen and Jeff Monken, and Kenny Dillingham, by the way, is not in the top 25.
That's crazy. That is absolutely.
It'll be different.
They had a nice year, nice season last year.
I think that is. I understand your argument with Signetti in terms of you need to see the sustainability, but I think you can ask.
And if he does, he goes up probably scratching 9, 10 on this list, because
if they go,
then you're like, okay, he's done it back-to-back years at Indiana, basketball school that people talk about football. Let's talk about it. But I need to see. I like a long form instead of a quickie.
If he goes 11-1 again, he's easily
live life pretty well there.
Easily,
that's good advice.
Yeah.
I just think that you can make the argument how many coaches could have done what Curt Cignetti did at Indiana. Like how many of them could have taken a bunch of mid-major football players and in 1 year turn them into, hey, we're going to contend for a national title. Now, yes, the schedule was easy, but I do want to throw it out there. Their offense was terrible, but their defense kept them in the Notre Dame game. I mean, they played Notre Dame.
In that particular game, their offense wasn't very good.
Yes. But that Notre Dame game, they ended up playing Notre Dame closer than any team up until Penn State. I mean, so I do want to give them credit in that regard. I don't think I would put him as high as 13, but I definitely think he would deserve to be on this list for sure. Back to the Bielema thing. And I want to get rid of like Matt Rule. We can talk about Matt Rule being on this list, and I have some thoughts on that. But let's more so
give us some thoughts.
Well, Matt Rule being very, very high on this list, and I think Matt Rule is a good coach, and I think this program is heading in the right direction, and I like a lot of the things that he's done. But Matt Rule has won in college football at a very different time than where we are at now. Okay, He won at Baylor and he won at Temple, but we didn't have the NIL and we didn't have the transfer portal, and he didn't do it at those two places for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. He did it back-to-back 10-win seasons at Temple, which hell of an accomplishment. They hadn't done that before. And he won and he resurrected Baylor's football program, right? That was, near the deathbed when he took over. And so he gets a ton of credit for that. But there are just other coaches on this list who have done it for longer. And there are coaches on this list who have won and who have had success in this specific era of college football. Matt Rule hasn't had on-field Saturday success in this era of college football, which is why I wouldn't put him 18.
Well, he gets on this list, one, because there's the year 3, which I wouldn't compare year 3 at Nebraska to year 3 in Philadelphia or Waco. He also gets on this list, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and this also goes to how much stock you put in these kind of lists. He's very likable. He is very likable amongst the media. The media like Matt Rule. Matt Rule gets the benefit of the doubt from media.
I liked him in Texas, too.
Like, there's media that don't like James Franklin. Okay? There's probably media that all of a sudden don't like Signetti. There's media that don't like Brian Kelly.
There's media that doesn't like Kirby.
Even though Brian Kelly has, he got the national championship game at Notre Dame. You look at what he's done at LSU. He had a Heisman Trophy winner. There is part of these lists that becomes personal instead of being factual.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? Man, I know that year 3, that's been Rule's history. Look, they got to a bowl game last year. And Matt Rule is a good guy. I mean, I've been to Lincoln.
He said the things that everyone wants to say.
He's a guy that's a builder. Yeah. And so Matt Rule, nice guy. Plus he gets the benefit of the doubt that he has done it elsewhere and he'll do it again at Nebraska. So let's put him on this list. But I wouldn't put him ahead of Bielema.
No way.
But I wouldn't put him that far behind Bielema. But it also shows you that college football has changed where, are we doing lists that are focused on the construction of a roster or coaching chops? How many of these guys that are in the top 25 in coaching, you would say, Saturday, that's my guy. Saturday, he's going to win us the football game. Well, Mario Cristobal, maybe this is the case. I'm glad that he's 25th on this list. Mario Cristobal can spend money, and they like to spend money in Miami, and he can recruit. But Mario Cristobal can't coach on Saturday.
No.
Look at how many winnable games that Miami has lost or Oregon has lost.
Well, look at Lance Leipold on this list.
Oh, Jimmy.
Having a Kansas coach on this list, right? It's because the guy can coach, right? The guy can develop, right? And
this is true.
Also Bielema, man. Illinois football was terrible before he took over. We're talking.
They were 3-17 in the previous 20 games before he got there.
I ate crow in this show because I had some slander about Burt last year, and he proved me wrong.
He knows how to win in the Big Ten.
Yeah. And
I'll never discount him again.
Nobody gave a damn about Illinois football. 3-9, 2-10, just bad teams in a state school, in a really good high school football state that couldn't win.
If KU was Indiana last year, Leipold would be 13th because Leipold has been numerous stops that are not Power 4 that he's won at, from Wisconsin Whitewater to Buffalo, now to KU, where they've won 22 wins,
and people don't realize
in 4 years.
He basically took over a program that was at the death penalty.
Exactly.
Whoa,
it was close. Les Miles, Charlie Weiss.
Are they still? Litigating the David Beatty situation?
I don't think so. Okay. I heard he's driving an Uber somewhere though.
Because it's funny. It's like you look at.
I love your bitterness towards your bad KU coaches.
I don't have much bitterness towards Dave. He had no idea what he was doing, but he's a nice guy.
If I was
Charlie Weiss, on the other hand,
if I was starting a college football program, I would take Lance Leipold over a lot of coaches that are ahead of him.
Would you have hired Lance Leipold over Matt Rule?
Me?
Mm-hmm. You're the trigger man. You're the guy in the power chair. You get to choose one. Ted Carter says, we got money from both. It's your call.
They're both interested equally.
You have to work with him. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. All right, chew on that. We'll take a break.
I don't know.
I can hear you thinking over there. Coming up in a little bit, Sarah Baker Hansen. We'll get an appearance by SIP today in 1620 The Zone. Hey, good to see the government is going to be involved in fixing college athletics.
Oh,
What we need is another committee. Thank you.
So it's always great when the government gets involved.
Let me read you before you answer the question. If you would hire Matt Rule or Lance Leipold. I'm going to read you a description on this list of the top 25 coaches in college football right now.
Okay.
This is a description of one of the coaches that is ranked. His best move was surrendering play calling before the blank season so he could focus on more of being the program's CEO. The blank improved and blank became a better coach.
Day.
Fair. I'll play with you. I'll say Ryan Day.
Eli Drinkwitz.
No.
Okay.
There's some similarities between Nebraska and Missouri. Now, Mizzou,
Matt
surprisingly,
Davison's
they got a little bit
ears just
of. Surprisingly, Missouri's got a little bit of a in the portal, so they've got some staying power.
Mm-hmm. They get dudes.
Didn't the head coach at Nebraska prior to this year? He didn't have any play calling duties,
Yeah.
but he has morphed more into a CO by surrounding himself with people that can help him,
Mm-hmm.
that can help him on Saturday when the clock is ticking and we got to make decisions. Will that, instead of one particular side of the ball improving, will the whole operation improve?
I think so.
And when I read that, I was like, oh, that sounds, I could see that.
You could write the same thing, though, about Ryan Day, like, because he did give up play calling duties to Brian Kelly, and he allowed Jim. I mean, that was Jim Knowles' defense. He was the head coach of the defense there. That was all his. And Day, I remember very famously on a game day pregame interview, was like, I know that I'm going to have to give up play calling duties because I have to take more of a CEO role, and that's hard for me because that's what I do. I'm a play caller. And I think that when Ryan Day gave up play calling duties to be a CEO, I think that was a big shift for other coaches looking around, being like, well, if Ryan Day is going to do that, if Ohio State is going to do that, maybe we should consider doing that.
And then hire that person's got to be really, really good that you hired.
Yeah.
All right. You've thought about it.
Yeah, I would probably have hired Leipold for coming right off that 9-win season. I probably would have hired Lance Leipold just because I think that what he did at Buffalo and what he did at Kansas and resurrecting the Kansas program and making them relevant and them winning games.
I know, but you were there when game day was there, so you saw the exact product of, whoa, where am I?
Like, also, too, like,
shout out Max Duggan, who is playing in the UFL, by the way.
That was a good game.
Would you say that
still was a penalty at the end? BS.
So they're getting a new football stadium, right?
Yes.
So would you say that if they don't have the success with Lance Leipold, that they don't end up having that stadium rebuild?
They probably would have moved to Las Vegas by now.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, more recently, a guy who is a really damn good coach on Saturdays takes a program and who, like you said, was on a deathbed and makes them a team that
they did win 9 games in 6 years prior. I mean, not necessarily the deathbed.
But I mean, I'm just quoting what Jimmy said. Right?
I'm being sarcastic for Mr. KU over there.
But like, also too, they were preseason ranked. And they suffered some injuries early on in the year, and then they ended up having a great end of the season. I'm not going to act as if it like this is. I had to think about this. I think that they were.
We should think.
It's a very, very close hiring process between the two, and this is something that Trev went through. Like, I would have done Leipold.
Nebraska would have been.
I would have done Leipold, but
Nebraska would have been very lucky to hire him if had gone that way. And that's, I'm not being, facetious now or sarcastic like always. Like, this is legit. I mean, the man's a great ball coach. And one of the things that some of my people down there told me around the time that he started going, around the time that they had game days, he has an ability that everybody from the top down to the very bottom, whether it's an intern, an analyst, whatever, everybody's pulling in the same direction. And you hear that about some of the best coaches. Everybody's going in the same direction. So if you have something like that going, then yeah, you have something. So anytime you hear that, it's a good thing.
Jeff Brom's 16th on this list. Seems appropriate. I don't think he gets enough credit. I mean, he's been at places where you go, Western Kentucky, Purdue. You got 2 really cool mascots.
Yeah.
But you're probably known more for being basketball schools. Seems like Jeff Brom, now he's at Louisville. He's back home. it's always like they're always trending upward
Yeah.
with whatever program he has. And it also seems like he's always punching above his weight. But if you took and put him at a major brand, would he have success?
Yeah.
Or is Jeff Brom perfect being a 15th on the list of the top 25 coaches? And Western Kentucky, Purdue, Louisville are good spots for him. None of them are at the top of the conference. One's near the bottom. Louisville looks like they're going to have a consistent run in the ACC. Him being 16th, I think, is good. But a lot of coaches are similar. Like Kleiman and Jeff Brom are similar.
Here's a guy.
Kyle Whittingham, similar.
Here's a guy missing from this list. PJ Fleck.
Hmm?
PJ Fleck not being like Kenny Dillingham for sure should be in the top 25, but PJ Fleck not even being on the just missed our list after, I mean, being in Minnesota, not necessarily like
how much
the
of
biggest
that
football
how much
power.
of that comes back to what I was saying about these lists become personal?
Oh yeah.
We don't have, because he's not even on just missed our list.
No, that's crazy. Like, I'm not acting as if he should be like 13, 14, 15, but like the fact that he's had that success at Minnesota over an elongated period of time, and we're not even saying, honorable mention for PJ Fleck. I think there would be some teams who look at their head coach on this list and be like, man, PJ Fleck would do well here.
These are great conversation pieces for college football because Dan Mullen would be 26th on this list.
Yeah.
Is Dan Mullen still living off Mississippi State when the Bulldogs were number one in the country and Dak was his quarterback? I mean, the Florida thing didn't go so well.
No.
Now he's at UNLV where they won't be able to afford him in 2 years. All right, Sarah Baker Hansen, she's nice enough to do this for free, to give advice for all of you foodies out there. She'll join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, time to talk to our favorite foodie. We haven't chatted in a while. Our schedules have finally lined up. We welcome in Sarah Baker Hansen. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How was the attention and the advice you gave out last week for all the Berkeys in town? Where to go that are not attached to Warren Buffett?
Well, I think I have so many stories that I've written over the past decade that, if anyone has a question of where they want to go during Berkshire Weekend, they could search through my vast archive of many, many suggestions. And Berkshire Weekend and patio time overlapping is just, the perfect combination.
Which I know is one of your favorite times. Also, credit to you, because a lot of our listeners that are not familiar with the Ord area, you and your husband, who is familiar with that area,
Yeah.
I think it was what, 2 years ago you brought up Scratchtown Brewery in Ord.
Yeah.
It was packed this past weekend when Nebraska volleyball was up there for their spring match.
I have known one of the guys who started Scratchtown, a guy by the name of Caleb Pollard, since before I ever had written a single word professionally about food. And we both worked for the Nebraska Department of Economic Development in different roles. And I went on to write about food, and he went on to make really good beer. And so our friendship has continued over those years. And in our book, The Better Half, that Matthew and I wrote together, he did a story about kind of the resurgence of Ord, which during the farm crisis, almost ceased to exist as a town. And since then, lots of young people, Caleb and his brewery partner included, have moved back to Ord and started lots of really great businesses, including Scratchtown. I think it's a real Nebraska success story. So two great stories coming out of the Nebraska state government right there, me and Caleb.
Sarah, let's talk about Steaktown USA. You just released your newest edition, going to Gorat's, the very famous in part for good food, but also Warren Buffett's a favorite steakhouse. I want to read you this line, and it's a quick one, right? You go,
okay.
Gorat's is good again. Is one of the things you write. Let's just, before we go into what it is now, what do you think?
Yeah.
What did that kind of fall off, or however you want to describe it, happen?
Right. So later in the story, much later in the story, I talk a little bit about how when a restaurant has been around a long time, and I guess if people aren't familiar with Garot's, it's on 49th and Center. It's been open in Omaha since 1944. So it was originally opened by Louis Garot and his wife, Nettie. They opened it. And then their son, who was known as Pal Garot, and his wife, Shirley, took it over in the 60s. And so the Garot family ran it for decades. And then in 2012, it first changed ownership. Longtime Omaha restaurateur Gene Dunn remodeled it, restored. It has an incredible neon sign outside, which you can see in the lead photo on my story today on Flatwater Free Press. And then in 2019, its current owners bought it. And so, 1944, that's a long history in Omaha. And I think when a restaurant has been around and become so legendary like Garot's has, mostly because of Warren Buffett and the Berkshire Hathaway, pilgrimage that so many Berkshire shareholders make to Omaha each and every year. They want to go there because they know it's his favorite place. You can kind of rest on that, right? You can rest on the fact that Warren loves you. You can rest on the fact that, throughout the year, thousands of people come to Omaha and this is one of the places that they want to go. And I think that happened. And this isn't any shame on any owners or people who worked at Garot's or whatever. I think it just kind of, slid into what I say in the story was a little bit of complacency. And I think it's why this reinvention that I encountered when we went to dinner there, it's sort of a mix of modernizing some things while simultaneously respecting and appreciating and returning to the restaurant's roots is so exciting to me. There are a lot of new things that the new front of house team, Josh Saligan, and actually his mom, Kathy Saligan, they're both running he's the chef and she's co-running the house with Josh's partner, Ashley Blodgett. So the three of them are kind of running the day-to-day, and that's that is what has really, I think, caused this reinvention to happen. Obviously, with support from the owners, but those three, I think, are really who's responsible for it happening.
Before we get into the T-bone and hash browns, which is wild. The one thing I can appreciate, whether it be Gorat's or with Alfie and Cassio's, or even Johnny's, like you go to those places, and maybe you went there, and you know, you talked about where you went as a kid. That you go back like a year later, 5 years later, and even through a pandemic. I give credit to the old OG steakhouses in this town, because it seems like the waiters and the waitresses are the same. Like especially Gorat's. There's a couple that I recognize, and I hadn't been to Gorat's in about 3 years, and I went about a month ago. Like they were there 3 years, they were there 3 years ago. They were there 15 years ago. They were there 20 years ago. I do appreciate that about some of the older steakhouses in this city.
Sure. And I think, this is a really fine balance. I think this is a fine balance between, updating to something that sort of, doesn't include the things that people love so much about it. And I think that just has to be done really carefully. And I think, they've come in after a lot of updates had already been made. So they're kind of undoing some of the updates that maybe they didn't love, and refreshing some things that maybe needed refreshing. And I think you're right. A lot of the same staff is still working there, and there's a lot of new staff members who have come on, and they survived through COVID, which in our interview, Josh told me, that was like he started, and he and Ashley both started working there in 2019. So they worked there through COVID, and they talked about how rough it was. And it was rough for everybody, but I mean, a steakhouse that opened in 1944 that, prides itself on being in the space. I mean, that's a huge part of it, right? And so, you don't really get a steak to go. And so there were just a lot of challenges. But, I think what they're doing is really kind of, changing some of the artwork. So I don't know which dining room you sat in, but now they've got photographs of some of the old clothes and some that are still around. Like there's a photograph of Ross's Steakhouse, which old school Omahans will remember. And there's other photographs of Garot's, and there's just photographs of Omaha's steak history. I think one thing that they have done that made a huge difference is they dimmed the light. And I know we've talked about the importance of lighting before, but like especially in this, it's a huge steakhouse, and I mean, you want that ambiance, you want that kind of soft, romantic lighting. They've added new sort of ambient lighting in the bar, and then they've really gone down to like the minuscule touches. Like they have higher end steak knives that they were telling me cost them an absolute fortune. But when you look at your table and you see this beautiful knife, like that elevates the experience. And I think really the biggest change is that Josh is making everything, literally everything from scratch in the kitchen. And he has upgraded the quality of all the beef. And I think those are the things that really, together, all of those things just change the experience entirely.
So I'm looking at your scores here, and you can get into the beef later on in your answer, but I have to ask you, I see 4, and you rank everything in terms of ribeyes up to 5, up to 5 ribeyes. Yeah. You have 4 ribeyes for their OG spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti sauce is very simple. We've all had it growing up. So when I see 4 stars for that, I'm taken aback that something that simple can be ranked that high. Could you just talk about that and obviously how delicious it was.
So I saw it on the menu, and I love like an OG Italian steakhouse red sauce. I think, when done correctly, can be absolutely transformative. And it says on the menu, based on a Garot's family recipe from the 1940s. And I'm like, okay, I'm all in. And so I ordered it, and I haven't had a chance to look at this before, but I'm sure we have the photo of it.
Oh yeah, it looks delicious
somewhere.
Yeah.
It's in the first photo. You can see it there at the bottom. And so Josh told me a little bit about it. It is in fact derived off of a Garot family recipe that appeared in one of those kind of old community cookbooks that used to be sort of, printed with a spiral bound, which I love. And for the record, I collect, and I probably have 100 of them from all kinds of, so I need to look through my Omaha ones and see if I can find this recipe. But he took that recipe and then he like just elevated it. So he's using house ground steak and beef tenderloin. And then he's making a from scratch tomato sauce seasoned with red pepper flakes and cooked with a house-made beef stock. And so he's sort of building kind of like savory on top of savory on top of savory. And then he's grinding those leftover pieces of steak into ground beef. And so you get that kind of delicious contrast between ground meat and like chunks of super tender beef tenderloin through this like absolutely rich sauce. And I mean, I've done years ago we did best kind of red sauce, best spaghetti in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that if we did that again, like if I were to redo that, this would be a contender to win the whole thing because it is absolutely fantastic. I would say, it's a big plate. So order one for the table and everybody take a few bites because it is an enormous amount of food. I would challenge anyone to finish it on their own, but it is 100% worth trying. And I think that's just a really good example of like returning to the roots of an old school Italian steakhouse and just doing it in such a modern and thoughtful way. And that takes him a lot of time to do all that. I mean, that's not something you just throw together. This is like long simmered, and you can taste that.
Well, I do know that if you went in there this past weekend, they had a cutout of Warren, and everybody was there. The reservations were packed, and that's the place to go. And his recommendation, now along with yours, they're going to be busy for a long time.
They did not need me for business right now. They're doing fine.
Hey, so you brought up the Italian steakhouse because I think you and I have talked about this. The first time I went to Cassio's and they bring out Mastacholi, and I'm like, what's going on
what's
here?
Going on?
Because I had never really been to an Italian, steakhouse. We don't. They're kind of like we don't see new Italian steakhouses opening up. But why are they so popular in Omaha?
Well, I think it's a thing that happened. I think it is very specific to Omaha. And I think it happened when so many Italian immigrants, really a lot of them from the same area of Sicily, came to Omaha and created Little Italy, which we all know kind of the history of that to some degree, and also wanted to open restaurants because that's what many immigrants do when they come to the United States or a new city. And I think what ended up happening was they held on to some of their traditions and they added what is here in Nebraska to it. And so we ended up with these Italian steakhouses that serve you, like a baked potato and like a side of mascacholi. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Josh and his mom, which, they together, his mom, Kathy, spent 24 years working at Lo Sole Mio in Little Italy. So if anyone working there, knows the Italian steakhouse tradition or the Italian restaurant tradition in Omaha, it's her.
Yes.
And Josh worked there with her for a decade. So they're coming into this with a lot of, experience and knowledge under their belt. And he's really, the first quote in the story is him talking about how, the old school Italian steakhouse is kind of dying out, but they want to keep that alive, but modernize it and sort of like focus on how do you take the tenets of that and kind of make them more creative. And so, instead of giving you the free included, kind of, I'm going to say something a little bit true, but also a little bit mean, watery mascacholi.
No, that's absolutely fair.
No, it's fine.
Instead, they're taking that away and they're giving you this absolutely delicious OG meat sauce, which you have to order as an entree or to share or whatever you're going to do. But it's no longer a freebie, and there isn't free bread anymore, and there isn't a salad included. They're kind of they're moving away from that because that model isn't sustainable in our current economy. And I think we all know that. And they said, it's been a challenge because they've got a lot of very long-time customers who are resistant to change. And I think this all goes back to that delicate balance of how do you maintain the parts of it that matter and update it to be appealing to a new diner. And I think that's like the ultimate question. And one of the things that Josh told me that they're going to do, there's sort of this legendary story about how in the 50s and 60s, the meat that was served at Garot's was aged in the restaurant's basement. And he told me that not only is that true, that it's still set up for that, and that it's his plan within the next, I don't know, year to start doing that again.
Mm-hmm.
So actually aging meat on site and bringing it upstairs, butchering it, and serving it. And that to me is what really is the parts of the history that make a difference and that matter more than the Moscatoli, right? Like making it sort of this experience that not only is famous because a billionaire like Warren Buffett likes it, but also is a delicious place to eat. And I think that's where they're headed. And man, that is such a great thing to be able to talk about when we mostly talk about how these places are going away. One, finding a new path forward is pretty cool.
And this is up at flatwaterfreepress.org, the Steaktown series that is going on. This was good. I enjoyed the review, but I enjoyed that you wrote about the story because that location, and it's not like there's a bunch of development around 49th and Center, and they've got the iconic sign out front, and everybody knows it. It's good that they're kind of reinventing themselves to stay ahead of, so that they can stay there, because I can't imagine that neighborhood without Garot's.
No, and I think probably, the neighborhood can't imagine itself without that there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so iconic, and it's such a symbol of Omaha and really Nebraska, and kind of, what people come here for in a way. And I'm so, so pleased this week to be able to tell this story and to be able to encourage people to go check it out, because I think it's worth revisiting.
Hey, fantastic stuff, Sarah. We appreciate it as always. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah Baker Hansen. Again, flatwaterfreepress.org, the Steaktown series, where before this went to Sacramento, Nebraska, where they don't light the beam to the speakeasy. But the times that I've been in there, they have a little bit older clientele, but very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell people that live in the neighborhood just walked in.
Sure.
To have lunch.
That spaghetti sauce looks incredible on flatwaterfreepress.org. The picture is absolutely insane.
Steve Sipple. I don't know if he's been to Garot's.
I don't know. I feel like Sip is weathered. He's been a lot of places.
This place is in Severe's neighborhood.
Oh, could be.
They said, hey, Michael. He'll join us in the last hour along with Brian Edwards on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone is partnering up with Wellbeing Partners in the Celebrate Your Wellbeing Photo Contest. Submit a photo on how you focus on your well-being and practice self-care. Share your story online at 1620thezone.com.
All right, last hour on a Thursday with Gary and Matt. Jimmy in here as well. Sips around the corner. We were talking earlier about Round Ball Rock and NBC. And
Yep.
The NBA is going to NBC next year, and we like nostalgia.
Nothing better than nostalgia. Very few things beat it.
You want a little nostalgia?
I would love nostalgia.
I've got an idea. So yesterday, it's not been officially announced, but John Rothstein had a Sean tweet.
Thought he was sleeping.
That, yeah, you know what? It is May. But he woke up and said, Nebraska, Oklahoma are going to play in Sioux Falls at the Pentagon on the 15th of November. First out there, but not the date, was Robin Washut. So give him some credit, John Rothstein.
Of course.
But on a bye weekend, the bus is going up Interstate 29 to the Pentagon to Sioux Falls to watch Nebraska and Oklahoma play. You want some nostalgia? Jimmy will get this because I had to explain to you who was in the Big Eight. How about this? So I think
you would have liked the Big Eight
again.
I think I would have been a good Big 12 guy.
Great sport.
I really think I would have thrived in the Big 12.
You hit a home run with the Big Ten teams, so you were good.
Yeah. I got them all, guys. I know every single one of them. Not like I grew up 15 minutes away from one of their stadiums.
That team in College Park.
There's like 4 teams in Texas. Let me figure it out. Don't tell me Bishop.
I think it's like I think Nebraska athletics should do well up Interstate 29.
Mm-hmm.
They dabble in some Sioux Falls. They dabble in some Kansas City. I'm a big fan of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm an even bigger fan than the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
I think Omaha missed out on building a facility like that. But the people they have running it, they've been very aggressive in putting great college basketball matchups. I mean, neutral site game, it's a unique place. If you have not been there, go there. And you have an opportunity because Nebraska and Oklahoma are going to play on the bye weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Nebraska women are going to play the following day. And this has now become a tradition, a yearly thing that Nebraska goes north and plays. You know, Creighton went up there and played BYU. Omaha plays north of Sioux Falls and Brookings and south in Vermilion. But there was one year that Omaha and South Dakota played at the Pentagon. And Omaha will work out at the Pentagon. So it's a cool place. But you want some nostalgia. Not just going in that building and looking at the old school and the floor that's got 17 different lines on it. You don't know what 3-point line you're supposed to use.
It's like the old days when we watched basketball.
What if we did this? What if we had an old Big 8 tournament?
The holiday tournament?
A holiday tournament where
screw the
all
Bicentennial Center
former
in Salina.
8 Big 8 teams. And Nebraska has played a couple of them since they've left the Big 12. But what if we played a Big 8 tournament? We could do it. We could do it in Kansas City. We could even go to Oklahoma City. We could come to Omaha and have a Big 8 holiday tournament where you have 4, then you get 2, and then you get 1.
Phillips 66
Can I go one step
all
further?
over it.
Getting
Doug Bell?
Doug Bell
still
could
with
come
us.
back.
Yeah.
Can I go one step further here?
Okay.
Let's do just tournaments across the country where everybody goes back to their original conference for like a week.
That's
and
true.
they play in that tournament.
Got to do Southwest
Penn
Conference.
State goes back, Maryland goes back, Rutgers goes back.
Ooh,
right? You
Penn
just
State has nowhere to go to.
Creighton back into the Missouri Valley Conference.
Yeah, well, I don't.
Hey, bring the Shockers up here. I'm sure Creighton fans would love to get at them.
I don't know.
Time.
Maybe Power. If you switch from Power 5, so you said Oklahoma and Texas back, and then here's an even better one. You do a Pac-12 tournament.
No, it's Pac-10.
Or Pac-10.
Yeah, if we're going to stay, you got to do it right.
Pac-10. Do a Pac-10 tournament. Why not? That'd be great.
Because Utah being the
That would
Mountain
be
West.
fun.
Yeah.
If you all everybody, hey, for a week, we're going back to when this was fun. We're going back
When it was simpler.
When it was simpler and when it was regional and we didn't all hate ourselves.
When your Saturday
We're just
game was on your local CW or UPN affiliate.
Just for a week. Let's just go back. No, and by the way, no Amazon Prime, no Netflix, no Peacock.
There's no such thing.
No
Regular TV.
It's all literally half these games are on the CW.
So let's. So Nebraska hasn't played Oklahoma since they left the Big 12 in basketball. I don't think.
Not of recently, no.
Yeah, I don't think
So
so.
they've played Kansas State regularly. They've already played KU.
They played Colorado, but that was an exhibition game.
As long as Hoiberg's at Nebraska, him and TJ are not going to get together to play Iowa State.
Huh.
But Creighton and Iowa State played, the Big 12, Big
Yeah.
East. Mizzou, which Mizzou wants nothing to do with Nebraska.
I don't get that.
Or the Big 8.
Is that a SEC Big 10 thing? Is that a
I don't. Well, when Nebraska left the Big 12,
yeah?
there was and hey,
Oh, Roy Halou just scored again.
I don't-
Sorry, continue.
Mizzou left the Big 12 as well.
Yeah.
There was, like the Big 12 schools, nobody's playing Nebraska. But Mizzou won't even now, SEC versus the Big 10. I'm a big proponent. Let's play in football.
Mhm.
They won't play them in anything. By the way,
Scared.
you know
What?
what? Hey, how about go and win a baseball game?
Yeah.
Mizzou baseball is 0-24.
Softball? Was it softball?
They might
Really?
play- yeah.
Wow.
Mizzou baseball.
Mizzou baseball used to be
Mizzou
really
baseball
good.
Is 0-24.
Max Scherzer.
Good lord.
Yeah, but they've
good.
never really invested in the program.
Yeah.
Even when Tim Jameson had it going well there.
Still, baseball isn't going to baseball for you at one point in a conference season.
They won't. It would be ideal for Mizzou to play Creighton, Omaha, or Nebraska, and they don't. I think Omaha went to Columbia a couple of years ago. Of course, Omaha softball, which good luck to Mike Hurd at 11 a.m. this morning. Nebraska, by the way, plays at 10. Creighton also plays today. We're in a softball state.
Gorgeous day.
Omaha went to the regional in Columbia last year and almost won it.
Wow.
So Mizzou has played Nebraska nothing.
Mhm.
Has Oklahoma State and Nebraska played in basketball since the days of the Big 12?
I can go
I
back
don't
and look.
think
I
so,
I
not without
don't.
looking.
Once again, not of recently.
Creighton in the Missouri Valley Conference. I think Drake is the only team formerly of the Missouri Valley Conference that they have played. I think it might have been in Doug's last year or second to last year. They had a home and home with Drake. They also maybe have played Northern Iowa, and it was early in
sounds
the
right.
tenure of Mac.
Now,
But they had they haven't played Wichita State.
Right.
They haven't played Illinois State. They haven't played Southern Illinois.
what other
Artist
like
there were
formerly known
former,
as
but what
SMS.
other former
Mhm.
Big 8/Big 12 teams has Nebraska played in basketball? Like played Baylor, but that was in a
NCAA.
NCAA. That's not scheduling, so I don't think that really counts in that regard.
There's no real desire for Nebraska and Texas to get back together in sports.
I mean, they've played.
Even though that would get the blood
Well,
going.
volleyball would be first and
I
foremost.
mean, they played Kansas plenty in basketball, and you would think if they're willing to play Kansas, like there would be other Big 12 teams that they're willing to go at it with. I'm looking through here. I mean,
Texas Tech, no. Texas A&M.
I don't think that
well,
one will
NCAA
happen.
tournament, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I'm all the way through 15, 16. I can't really find anyone new. I mean,
Oh, there we go. Okay, I
Yeah.
guess I vaguely.
So Nebraska, thank you, Adam, at the Pentagon in 18. Played Oklahoma State.
yeah, shouldn't known that. That was a good one.
Hey,
It's weird.
So the Sioux Falls area is really divided between Nebraska fans, Iowa fans, and there's some Minnesota fans there. And then you got to throw in the Jackrabbit
that
fans,
is-
and you
that-
throw in some Coyote fans. But you look at that's why I think Nebraska up and down Interstate 29. We'd like Nebraska to spend more time in Omaha. I think dropping in to play basketball at the Pentagon and having men and women play up there is pretty key. Because Nebraska football recruits in South Dakota. Now they got Nash. Last couple of high school prospects out of Sioux Falls haven't panned out. They got one that's in the class of 26.
Mhm.
One of the top offensive linemen in the Midwest actually is going to Iowa, who is from the Sioux Falls area, and then down in Kansas City. Nebraska should have a brand up and down Interstate 29.
I'm glad that
Creighton should as well. Creighton,
Yeah, why not?
Creighton they used to recruit Minnesota heavily, and they've had a South Dakota connection as well. But now that they've morphed into the Big East, they don't get as many. They don't have like every year we got a Minnesotan on the roster. Now they have Jackson McAndrew right now.
You're right, though. They should go to Kansas City.
War number 40, Hanson from South Dakota.
I think that I'm glad that Nebraska's in the Big Ten. Okay, I'm glad that Nebraska is
Why?
positioned
Discussed that
themselves
yesterday.
Why?
in the Big Ten in one
Who
of the
needs
Power
all that
2,
money?
who they're
I can't
consistently
wake up at
playing.
6 a.m. and drive to Minneapolis
They're-
and make it for an 11 a.m.
Well,
kick.
okay, so that's where I'm getting at. That's where I'm
You gotta leave
getting
at
at.
5.
Being sarcastic.
I'm glad they're in the Big Ten, but the fact that they haven't been able to consistently give fans the ability to not like travel less than 4 to 5 hours to go to away football games or go to away basketball games, and that hasn't been made a priority, or maybe it has been made a priority, but they haven't been able to get it done. Regardless, that is frustrating. That is really frustrating, because if Nebraska played at Kansas, like that would be a fun road trip that people would take down to Lawrence, and you would pack that stadium and you would have a great time. If they played at Missouri, if they played at Kansas State, they played.
Well, they were closer to when Bill Moose was here. They were closer to doing a home and home with Kansas State than they've ever been.
But the most frustrating thing is that you have all these teams and you have the changing landscape of college football, and you would like
Taylor
to go
Martinez
to these away games, but
them.
Nebraska has taken the stance of, look, we're not going to play tough non-conference road games. We're just not going to do that. And they proved that when they said, no, we're not going to Tennessee. And so to think that in the near future that they're going to be like, okay, we are going to go on the road to play a Big 12 team that's close to us, so our fans can go to away games, or we are going to go on the road to play an SEC team in Missouri where our fans could travel to. And, they're not going to do that. That's just not going to happen. And that's an incredibly frustrating part, that like the closest drive is what, 6.5 hours to Minneapolis, Minnesota?
No, you can make to Iowa City in 5.
Okay, 5.
You run traffic on the other side of Newton.
But that's always tough too, because it's cold if you're going all the way
Cars
to
have
Iowa
heat.
City, and it's the day after Thanksgiving, and you're a little hungover in the stomach and in the head. And,
Wow.
I'm just saying. And it's, you're in enemy territory. They're probably not all that nice to you.
I mean, it's Iowa City. It's not Vietnam. It's not that bad. It's
Hey,
cold.
we will always have 2034 if we can hang on for a home and home start of Nebraska, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
What are the chances that remains on the schedule?
No shot. No shot.
That's 9 years from now.
No shot. No way. There will be, but there might be like a.
What about Oklahoma in 2930?
We could make it there.
Only if TV says, guys, you got to do this. This is good stuff.
We could make it there. I
Well,
it's dependent on what's the stadium project looking like.
No, it might not be that. Well, if the stadium project isn't done in 29,
you never know.
You aren't doing the stadium project. But it could be predicated on what happened yesterday, is that ESPN made it public that they're willing to give more money to the SEC if they go to 9 conference games, which going to be weird, the timing, because the SEC has their meetings later this month in Destin, Florida. The College Football Playoff Committee doesn't meet until next month. They won't go to 9 if they don't get their automatic berths. But if they go to 9, does a Nebraska, Oklahoma home and home in 29 go away, or does it fall under a scheduling alliance between the Big Ten and the SEC?
I think
that I could see.
I see that is the more likely thing of happening. I think it's more likely there's a scheduling alliance between the two than Nebraska holding on and being like, "Hey, we're just going to play this game."
Now remember, there's the new TV contract that rolls around in the 2030s as well. But thank you for ESPN stepping up and saying we'll give you more money. But we can't be fair. Nobody is equal in college football. We have to have differences. We have to have 8. We have to have 9.
Well, it makes it unique. It makes us weird. It makes us different.
$50 to $60 million more. Maybe no, $50 to $80 million more.
Hey,
that they're willing to give out. TV money is good.
Enjoy the weirdness, but until we're all under one super league and everything is super uniform.
All right, Chip's weird. He'll join us next. 1620 The Zone. Still celebrating Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, we should have thought about that,
we're-
actually.
We're waiting on Sip. He has been alerted to his tardiness. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's breaking a story.
He might be nursing a hangover still from Cinco de Mayo, knowing how much he loves margaritas. This could be a trickle-down effect. I'm telling you, man.
That'd be one hell of a hangover.
Hangovers get worse
From
and worse
Monday?
as you get older.
Oh,
I
you're
used to
going to
not-
find out.
I used to not get them. Now they're like a deterrent for me for for going out.
Give it 10 years.
I'm serious. I'm at the point now where I'm debating whether or not I want to go out with people because I'm like, I want to wake up in the morning a healthy human and not,
you could drink a Diet Coke.
and not regretting all of my decisions. And, then I get anxiety. You ever gotten anxiety before?
No.
So
Is this
anxiety is
a
a thing
young
is when
thing
you
now?
I think it is because multiple of my friends have it. It's where we get so hangover that everything becomes negative. And
I don't need alcohol for that. Hell, give me 5
just start
minutes.
thinking of all of the things that could happen wrong in your life, and you start freaking out. And it's like an effective.
So it is on the lines of being hangry.
Yeah, I did that last night.
Hangry is just when I just haven't eaten, which is right now. I am getting a little hangry right now. Did you see Robert Irwin talk about 100 Men versus a Gorilla?
I did not, but John Jones is going to participate.
John Jones is the
Better
greatest
than Jim
fighter of all
Jones.
time. Do you think Dana White will be there to watch it? Did we ask Dana White, John Jones versus Gorilla, who he would take?
I don't know. I am so glad that lasted. What did we get out of that? About 2.5 days, 3 days?
Of what? The Gorilla versus 100 Men?
Yeah.
It's still happening. It's still percolating out there. There's still people who are.
We got something going on at the Vatican. We need to stop this.
We're
looking for smoke. I think we're 0 for 3.
We're evolving though. The meme is evolving now, where it's like you put people who obviously would die to a gorilla and be like, I only need this guy to beat a gorilla, and then you put in like someone weird.
Give me the Jokic brothers, and I'm taking them
exactly.
at 5.
Hey, how smart was he last night? He might be one of the smartest guys in the NBA. He knew that they were going to get crushed. I mean, they gave up 87 in the first half. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a spectator. I'm gonna foul out of the game intentionally.
I'd have just gotten run.
He was out in the third. He was out in the third quarter last night. That is a smart man.
Push SGA.
That is a smart basketball team that knew it was not their night.
Yep.
And they were going to get kicked.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? We already got a game. We're going home, and the series is tied at a game apiece. You guys do whatever you have to do. Shea, it's okay to be plus 51 in the plus minus. Hey, the series at the end of the day is 1-1, even if you won by 40. Denver Nuggets,
1-1.
smart team.
I would have liked that memo before I went 10.5. That would have been nice.
I thought we weren't doing that. I thought we shut down
after yesterday.
Did you actually pick that game to
Wait
be
a minute.
close?
You had told yourself that you were not going to participate in mixed sportsbook.
I had X amount of dollars left. And I go, plus 10.5, baby. It'll be competitive again.
It's like game will be over by the end of the first quarter.
Well,
and it was.
why didn't you tell me that, Jimmy? We had 4 hours together.
I
on
thought
the
you
radio
were a
station.
ball knower.
Well, we were talking about the game all day, and not once
Actually,
did
I
you
think
say,
it said
obviously,
Thunder
this is going
by
to be a
40
blowout.
tonight.
I would have liked that opinion from
Now,
you.
I did also say Celtics would win big, so I was, 1 for 2.
Well,
but-
Paul Pierce has to walk without shoes on in a robe.
Why do
all the
people
way.
do that?
yeah.
I don't know why. The whole I will eat crap, like literal crap.
Yeah, what happened to the Florida State guy? Where'd he go?
I've done that before.
Or the guy with the burrito.
You've
I
eaten
don't
crap?
get it.
No, no.
Was that a hard question?
Well,
I think you would know.
I mean,
Oh, let me think.
not like
Sophomore
I haven't
year.
eaten actual crap, but like
Okay, good. That's now we got some
like not
clarification.
actual feces, but I have eaten like verbial crap.
See what happens
before,
when Sip doesn't answer the phone.
Okay.
like hypothetical crap. Like I've eaten plenty of hypothetical crap before.
We all have. We've been there.
I really was high on Ohio State. This would have been in 2021 in the NCAA tournament when they got upset by Oral Roberts. I thought that Ohio State team was going to go far. So I tweeted out, I will buy an Oral Roberts jersey
Mm-hmm.
if Ohio State loses this game. And
You
they
wear it
ended
tomorrow?
well, I never bought it. And to this day, in March, I always get reminded of the fact that I have to buy an Oral Roberts jersey for my friends. It's become like
You know a guy down there that
people
can take
have
care
the
of you.
tweet bookmarked, and they will retweet it every year and at me. And now it's become to the point where I don't want, like I I don't want to buy it anymore. Like it's a part of the meme at this point that I won't buy this jersey. And when am I ever going to wear an Oral Roberts jersey?
When aren't you?
I don't know.
We have guys that wear jerseys
Then
here.
you come
They're
to the final regular season game over at Baxter wearing that?
Mhm.
No.
You go to
absolutely
CWS
not.
wearing that?
I believe that the Mavs won by 27 that day.
If I wore an Oral Roberts jersey to that game, you would be like, I don't know who that guy is. Be like, I don't know.
It would be
Talk to him.
you. I would think you were related to a player.
No, you think
Did
anyone?
it have?
You think anyone in my family? Look at me. You think I have the genes connected for anyone to be playing
I
college
don't know,
basketball?
They had a little guard. They had a little guard on their roster.
Wow.
Max
last
wasn't
year.
that
Wow.
tall.
I
might
might
be the reason they weren't very good and they fired their coach.
I don't
They
know.
had too many guys that look like McMaster on their roster. Not enough guys that look like Markel Sutton on
Well,
the
I-
roster.
Ball
I thought
nowhere.
you were going to say not enough guys who look like Gary Sharp on their roster.
Nobody wants a Gary Sharp on their roster. Trust
5
me.
Gary Sharps or 5 Matt McMasters. How many games does that go?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll put that into the machine.
Yeah.
Speaking of basketball, well, let me first get this. You guys want to play a little trivia here?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so this was an email earlier in the show from Ed, who wanted my opinion on the Utah hockey team and the reveal yesterday that they are the Mammoth, not the Mammoths, the Mammoth.
I'm a fan of that. I like that
Was
they're
the
not.
Mammoths too much to say, so you stick with the Mammoth?
No, I like it when teams do kind of stupid vocabulary things to make themselves be different. Like the
Okay.
Stanford Cardinal. They're not the Cardinals.
Okay,
they're
so
the Cardinal.
you're leading into
Yeah.
what he
exactly.
asked. Have you guys discussed the famous trivia question about the professional teams in America in the 4 professional leagues that do not end with an S with their nickname?
So it's
Because we've added the Utah hockey team now.
yeah. Well, the Jazz.
Mhm. Is that maybe that's a Utah thing?
Yeah.
You can't have an
Ooh.
S.
I like that.
Now the
Like
Jazz,
caffeine?
the Jazz were a little bit different.
Yeah, Utah, Salt Lake, not known for its jazz.
Yeah.
I used to know this, like off the dome immediately. Bang.
All right, I'll help you.
Heat
here.
Magic.
I'll help you here. Let's
Yeah, Heat and Magic.
Stop. There's one more in the NBA, and they're still playing.
Oh, if you get this wrong.
And they're still playing. Not the
It'll
Timberwolves.
be 8 teams.
Not the Cavaliers. Not the Celtics. Not the Knicks. Not Denver. Oh, the Thunder.
Okay.
Okay.
Ma-
That took way too long.
Major League Baseball.
No Giants, no D-backs, no A's, no Mariners.
We're not doing
no-
this.
Going down the division.
The Sox, both Sox.
Now
Red
let's do
Sox,
the
White
East.
Sox.
Now there are 5 in hockey with the addition of the Mammoth.
Jeez.
Uh,
There's no way.
None of them are playing right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
there
know
you go.
They're all terrible too.
No, 3 of the 4 were playoff teams. The other one was a playoff team, I believe, in their expansion year.
The Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, man. Not the Kings.
No, in this question about nicknames that don't have an S, it was not the Kings.
Well, I'm
But
just
thanks
saying
for
it.
playing.
I said it correctly. It's one of my best takes. The Kings do indeed end with an S. This is terrible. This is embarrassing, considering the fact that I'm a hockey guy. Like this is
This is true.
The
quite
team
the
across
dilemma.
the state.
Oh, Lightning.
All right.
Lightning.
All right. One not very far from here.
One not very far from here.
Well, there are actually 2. And you've named one of them.
Yeah,
Want me to help you out?
yeah. Give it to me.
Avalanche.
Dang it, man.
And the last one, located in Seattle.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
What
They're a
do you mean
team.
doesn't
They're
count?
new. I barely know that they exist.
Wow. Josh
Okay,
Ottenson's going to be
attention.
mad at you.
I don't care about
That's
the
his
crap.
team.
You gotta win. Like you gotta win a title for me to care about you. As a Blackhawks fan, I don't care about you if you don't win a title.
You have to win a title for you to care about
for
them?
me
Wow.
to give a damn about you. You gotta win a title. The Knights have my full attention. My full attention. The minute they stepped in the league, they had my full attention. Kraken, don't give a damn. Mammoth, who cares? They're on the West Coast. I'm not going to watch their games. You think I'm going to stay up at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday in October or November
Yes.
to watch the Utah Mammoth play hockey?
I mean, Mixed Sportsbook is probably open, right?
I don't do hockey. I don't like the puck lines. The puck bounces in too many weird ways for me to have an accurate statement on whether or not that's going to happen.
Bill says now have Matt do the colleges.
Hell no. Hell
Well, you
no.
named one of them earlier, Stanford.
Oh, that
do not end in an S.
I can't.
One is playing a very important Week 3 intriguing game in college football. Group of 5 against a Power 4. Where did Troy
There's
Dannon,
no way I can do this live on the radio without really
I'll give you
thinking
hints.
about it.
Where did Troy Dannon once work?
Northern Iowa.
Yes, the Panther.
Or was
His
it
next stop.
The Huskies, Washington.
In between.
No way.
The Green Wave.
Jesus Christ. Come on.
Many waves of green.
This school is
The Irish, the Fighting Irish.
Yes.
Fighting Irish.
Okay.
There you
Not
go.
very far from South Bend and southern land
what?
of Lincoln.
The southern what? The southern the Illini.
Okay.
I should have known that.
Team in Annapolis.
Maryland, the Terrapins. The Army.
They are protecting our waters.
The Air Force.
How about the Navy?
There you go. Come on, man.
They're all over TikTok.
This is like who he play for.
Yes,
Hey.
yes.
This is exactly.
Three more.
Okay. Keep going, Jimmy. That's great.
They're
music.
all over TikTok because it's
Okay.
the end of the school year, and so the sororities are.
The Huskers, the volleyball team, the Creighton Blue Jays. They're on TikTok. Both those. You see, the Creighton Blue Jays were on TikTok recently.
Yeah, they all end with S.
I know. I'm joking.
Plural. Lots of Blue Jays.
They are a very, very popular town that this time last week had a lot of popularity nationally. And there is an individual that was at that event a week ago who, with his new friend, they had news yesterday.
With his new friend, had news
Last
yesterday.
week, this community, this school was making national news because of two gigantic figures that spoke.
The Crimson Tide.
Yes, thank you for our streamers.
There you go.
This school is located on Interstate 35 in the Metroplex.
There's no way I'm gonna know. I do not know my interstates. What are you kidding me? I don't know where 35 is. I didn't know 80 was until 4 years ago.
They are located in Denton, Texas. Their stadium, their football stadium is it's big. It's like right next to.
Are we gonna play this
Interstate
game?
before we
35.
split
Are we
the
gonna play
interstate.
this game where I just start naming all the teams in Texas and hoping until I get it right?
The current
Oh,
head,
Rice. Is it Rice?
the Owls,
The Owl.
Yeah.
spelled with a Z.
My
Yes.
bad.
Their former basketball coach is now the head basketball coach at Texas Tech.
Their former basketball coach is now the basketball coach at Texas Tech. Where did McCaslin come from?
ask
North
us.
Texas.
Yes, the
There you
Mean
go.
Green. And then the final one. They used to be in the Missouri Valley Conference way back in the day. They are no longer in the Missouri Valley Conference. Frank Haith once was their head coach. They play at Skelly Stadium for football, where Union and Jinx probably outdraw this team when they play there.
Some people like this kind of shower.
They are to circle back.
What?
They share a city
Okay.
with a team that you've already mentioned this morning.
I mentioned a lot of teams this morning. Is it in the chat? Is it Tulsa?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Golden Hurricane.
Oral Roberts is in Tulsa.
Oh, they are in Tulsa. I did know that.
Yeah.
I was aware of that. This is
All right,
awful.
this is a fun game.
This was terrible. Yeah, for you it was.
We have one more.
I-35. I don't know where I-35 is.
Everywhere.
I have driven in like
goes from
I have,
Canada all the way.
It goes
Okay.
right by
All
my
the-
grandma's
Does it go all
house.
the
Can
way
I
to-
tell you
does it go all
something?
the way to Mexico?
Yeah.
Can I tell you something
Laredo.
right now? I'm an east-west driver. Right? I go east
But you didn't know
to west
80.
until I went all the way to Nebraska because there wasn't a damn thing to do in Iowa before I went to Nebraska.
Yeah, that truck stop.
Okay, I'll give you one last one here.
This is fun for you.
They are 1,128 miles from here.
How, Which way, Gary? There's a
They-
lot of places that's 1,121 miles from here.
UNK
We're the
is
most
out.
middle state in the country that does nothing. Are we left? Are we
They-
right? Are we down?
They play in a dome.
They play in a dome. Okay. Is it?
Their former defensive coordinator is now the defensive coordinator at Florida State,
The Orange.
the Syracuse Orange.
That's why you didn't say, want to be a sports broadcaster? This school is for you.
Good
Just
job.
ask
Hey.
them.
Nice job.
That was not a nice job.
you roundabout way. You got there.
Do you know that I got into Syracuse, and I got into Syracuse, and I get a letter, and I go,
I've been to Syracuse, Kansas.
and I call my parents, and I go,
Been to Syracuse, Nebraska?
We drive by
I
it
get
on the way
into
to Lincoln.
Cuse, and I call my parents. I go, I did it. I got into Syracuse. I didn't think I'd do it. I'm gonna go there, whatever. I'm so excited. And then I read the letter, and they're like, "Well, you didn't qualify to be in the College of Journalism, but we're accepting you in the College of Health and Sciences." And then I find out that you have to have a 3.9 GPA to like transfer into the College of Journalism. And then I ripped up the letter. And Cuse can go. You know what now?
You should have saved the letter. Probably would have gotten you a job at ESPN.
All right. People like this game.
I
I'll
think
give you another one.
you're a good game show host, Gary Sharp.
Big East team.
A current Big East team.
Current Big East team. They were in the NCAA tournament.
This is so bad. Not the Golden Eagles.
Not Creighton.
Not UConn. Not the Red Storm.
Mhm.
Red Storm.
And even
See,
the
with
previous name
See,
wasn't.
with college, we have a lot more. We could do this all day. This
I
was
should have
fun.
gotten the Red Storm right away. That was a bad one by me, considering the fact that we've talked
A
about
lot of
them
them were.
so much over the last.
Yeah,
6
but
months.
we don't say, hey, the Red Storm. It's
Well, yeah.
St. John's.
Well, they call them the Johnnies.
They do call them the Johnnies.
So,
They do.
but they are the Red Storm.
Yeah.
I'm
Some-
making great statements today.
Some people even call them the St. John's Redmen still.
Kings have an S. The St. John's go by the Johnnies.
Yeah.
Made some head coaching opinions.
Yep. What team in the Summit League?
The Tommies. Not the Mavericks. Not the Bison. The Bison.
The Bison.
I said that.
The
Bison.
Yep, the Bison.
Bison.
Don't
See?
say bison.
My lisp helps me out there when I
Nice.
mispronounce it. I don't think I could say bison.
Hey, see, you're going to be ready for Sports Jeopardy when we debut it on 1620 The Zone this
so,
summer.
Content.
Yeah, because I actually used to play the YouTube Sports Jeopardies
Mhm.
with my friends, and I would dominate. One time there was an outline of PNC Park. It was like, guess what this park
Bad
is by
were
the
these
outline?
friends?
Knew it right away. Come on now.
Brian Edwards is going to join us next on 1620 The Zone.
Everybody knows that if I had to pick a favorite segment of the entire show every week, it would be this guy. If my Mount Rushmore was guest on this show, it'd be this guy with 4 different faces. We welcome in our Vegas insider, Mr. Brian Edwards. Brian, how you doing, my man?
I was having a great morning until my power went out like a half hour ago.
No.
But, fortunately, I run my AC in the upper 60s at night, so the thermostat is probably still in the low 70s. But if it doesn't come back on in the next 2 or 3 hours, it could be getting really hot in here.
How hot is too hot for you? Like when we hit 80, are we DEFCON 1? Where are we at?
Well, I mean, I have a ceiling fan in my office. If it's on high, I could probably deal with 80 for a little while. But trust me, I will not be in my house if the power's not back on by 2 o'clock. I'll be somewhere else.
Hey, it is a great potential money-making weekend, my man. You got the NBA, you got, some little flavor here with the NFL and possible futures, but we're going to start off in Montreal, Canada, where UFC 315, a card with it's a good card with a lot of ranked matchups and, weight classes where you're going to get high quality fights, right? We got a bantamweight bout. We have a lightweight bout. We have the welterweight bout in the main event with a lot of really good fighters, but no true superstars. But the headline here, Bilal Muhammad taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Give it to me, Brian. Like, where are you looking at? I know that Bilal necessarily isn't the people's champion, but he's still one damn good fighter. And then you got the return of Valentina Shevchenko. Just outlook on this really, really good card in Canada this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Bilal and Aldo in a 2-leg parlay, which should pay out around plus 130. I got plus 131. Aldo is obviously up there in age, but his opponent is only a year younger than him, and his opponent hasn't faced nearly the level of competition as Aldo. Now, his opponent is on a 5-fight winning streak, but the only name I really recognized was Pedro Munoz, and Munoz is 2-7 in his last 9 since beating Cody Garbrandt. So I think Aldo's had some losses lately, but he's only been fighting top guys.
Yeah.
And so I like Aldo there a lot, and Bilal, I think he gets it done as well. So plus 130-ish parlay with Bilal and Aldo. And then I got Valentina plus 130 a week ago, but I still like her at, plus 115-ish or even plus 110. And again, Valentina's getting up there in age, but her opponent's only 1 year younger than her as well. So these two veterans in Aldo and Valentina, who, my power just came back on.
Let's go.
All right. Yeah, let's go. Oh, awesome. Heck, I may even have time to get my NBA notes in front of me for when we ship to NBA. But yeah, so you kind of worry about the age of Aldo and Valentina these days, but their opponent's only 1 year younger than them. So I think we throw age out the window.
Sure.
And their experience and skill is why I'm riding with them.
Like I said, I mentioned you got a little bit of NFL flavor, some over-unders. You even got one of my team's draft picks on your board. I mean, what do you got here? I know that, look, the Commanders was everybody's surprise team last year, and that there's going to be a lot of hype on them going into the season this year. Some people may be fading them just because they're like, hey, I don't think they can put it in back-to-back seasons. How do you look at Washington's season upcoming in the NFL?
Seems like the odds makers are fading them, throwing out that 9.5 to us. It's just so easy money. And look, they do have a difficult schedule. I went through it the other day, but as long as Jaden Daniels is healthy, I mean, I think 11-6 is their floor. I like to have a 1.5 game cushion when I'm betting a season win total, especially if it's an over. So, I like over 9.5 on the Commanders at minus 118 price. And they've added Debo. They got an offensive tackle out of Oregon and Josh Connerly in the first round. They got an Ole Miss cover corner in the second round and Trey Amos. I think those guys are going to be instant impact. Debo will obviously be a huge impact. And they did lose a few guys in free agency, but they've added some veterans as well. And really, it's just all about Jaden Daniels to me. And so over 9.5 on the Commanders. And then the Bears, Luther Burden. I'm just talking about some really small change.
Yeah.
But a 50-1 payout on Burden to be NFL offensive rookie of the year. I think that's worth a super small play.
Hey, the series price has changed drastically with Curry being injured. Are you doing anything with Game 2 tonight in Minneapolis between Golden State and Minnesota?
You know, I thought long and hard about going Warriors plus 10.5 or the under. The under is 8-4 in the 12 regular season games that Steph missed, but none of the totals on those 12 games are anywhere near as low as this one. I lean under and lean Warriors, but I haven't done either, and probably won't just because I don't know. I looked long and hard, and I was thinking about both, but I just couldn't get there.
Hey, what do you think is going to happen with the line for Game 3 in Indianapolis between the Cavs, who are down 2-0, and the Pacers?
So if all three guys in Hunter, Mobley, and Garland get upgraded, and I have no idea if that's going to happen. I figured one or two of them would play the other night, and all three got ruled out. If all three were to get upgraded, you got to think the line goes to at least 4. I mean, right? I would think, but I would hope it wouldn't go because look, I've got Pacers plus 400 for the series.
Yep.
I'm mulling coming back with Cavs plus 170, or if Cavs are -3 or fewer and all three guys are back, I like the Cavs in Game 3. I mean, it's such a desperation game for them. They played really good the other night, except for the last few minutes of the game, and obviously the last minute was a disaster.
Yeah.
But so I'm thinking Cavs in Game 3, but I'm obviously in a holding pattern on that until we get some health updates, which we might not get till less than an hour before tip.
Hey, is Oklahoma City Denver the first 2 games in Oklahoma City gone over? Because now they go to Mile High City after running up 255 combined points last night.
Yeah, so the total's gone higher here, 233.5 or 234, but I still like it over. The over is 4-1 in the last 5 head-to-head meetings between these teams this year, and those combined scores have been 255, 240, 267, 246, and then the outlier, the one under, was 230. So it wasn't far from getting there. Over 53, 37-1 overall for Denver this year, 47, 40-2 overall for OKC. The over's hitting 5 straight for the Nuggets, who saw their regular season game average combined scores of 240.6 points per game. So I like the over in Denver OKC Game 3.
Great stuff. B, we appreciate it. Glad your power is back on and you can get back to normal life.
Me too. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.
Hey, thanks, Brian. That's Brian Edwards,
Brian.
The senior handicapper and advisor for Vegas Insider. Vegas B. Edwards. Rough life there in Destin without the power on.
I know you were
breeze
thinking,
blowing off the ocean.
I know what you were thinking in the back of your head. You're like, man, I wish my power went off. I wish this power went off. I wish it was 80 here. I wish I was chilling.
We went through it last summer.
Yeah,
it was a little bit toasty in my house.
Really? For you?
Yeah, it went into the 90s.
You're a cold-blooded animal. I think you would enjoy that.
Yeah, that was a little bit much.
That was nearing your limit, right?
Yeah,
you didn't turn
was
on
almost
AC
at the
with
limit.
Yeah, I would have. God no.
But the house is open, man. It's great. We're gonna be turning that AC on for a while.
79 today.
I might sit out on my patio today.
You should.
Well, you should. Enjoy a Thursday outside.
Maybe I should get a cigar today. It just feels like a
Go
cigar
ahead.
day.
Yeah.
It just feels like a cigar day.
You spend that on
I see
spend the money on the cigar and not the mixed sports book.
Well, I was going to say, as opposed to the $15 I might have dropped on the Cavaliers tonight, I'll probably just drop that a nice little. Give me a Cohiba. I'll get a Cohiba today, man.
Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thanks for putting up with us. We'll do it again tomorrow, beginning at 6 to wrap up the week. We'll see if we get Sipple on. Sipple is in the penalty box right now. I forgot. We'll get Sip tomorrow.
That was perfect.
Crossover is coming up next for Jimmy from Matt. I'm Gary. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.